Hello and welcome to another episode of The Captain's Table. My name is Paul Berserker01 Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender at the AstroPub, and your space professor, your lore professor on the Astro Historian. Today, I am bringing you another episode of The Captain's Table. This is a podcast dedicated to the Star Citizen community, Star Citizen news, lore, and more. Where I bring people from all over the Star Citizen community to talk about the game, latest updates, theorycraft, what have you. We are going on our 9th season now, and we actually have a brand new YouTube channel called it's the Captain's Table Podcast. So if you look at youtube.com/at the Captain's Table Podcast, you can find us there. I will be starting on starting tomorrow. I will be uploading every single video of this year up to the Captain's Table podcast site. I think it's tomorrow, right? Tomorrow's the 1st? Yes. Starting tomorrow or Monday, one of the two, every day will be a new one. I will endeavor to put up every single episode of the past. Right now on that YouTube channel, it has 2016 and 2017, all of 2016, 2017 episodes. I'm still got a while to put the 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023 up over as well. But I'll try to like dump those over time. But the first new episodes of the Captain's Table will come out on that site recorded. It will always be live here at youtube.com/TheAstroPubLive and twitch.tv/TheAstroPub. But just kind of a little introduction. We'll make sure to go check over there. All right. With that, let's do introduction of the folks before we get started. Starting with a familiar face, Zark. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen, and where can they find you?
I'm just a normal guy playing the game, and I'm usually hanging around Paul's Discord. So yeah, debating with the people there, and every Sunday we are going around with lore and rescuing artifacts.
I was gonna say, you're a member of lore. You're a member of my org. So yeah.
Yeah.
And Apollonaut, who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen, and where can they find you?
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm Apollonaut. I've been in the community since 2015. I run an org with about 250 people called Soul Armada. We had a booth at CitizenCon in LA. You might have seen us last year. I'm also the admin of the California Bar Citizen Discord server. I've been doing events for years. And oh gosh, I'm in a lot of places in Star Citizen. Been doing in-person events, been doing in-game events. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I saw Soul Armada. What's that? An Equinox?
Also, yes. Equinox. Yeah, Equinox is a in-person LAN party. I run Equinox West. It'll be January 4th. Looking at 40 plus PCs, and it's going to be a good time. Equinox Prime is in Ohio. Or it was this year. I went to that on June 1st. That was a lot of fun.
Nice.
With Shadowkin.
Yes, Shadowkin.
And
I used to go to the Bar Citizen Northern California, the San Francisco Bay Area Bar Citizen when I was there. So, you know,
that's where I met you the first time. I was in San Francisco for GDC.
Right. Yeah. That was when I met. Benoit. Benoit showed up for that one.
Yeah.
That was the one where Benoit was like, "You're Paul Shelley, the AstroPub," and I was like, "What?" Yeah, I'm the head of Turbulent. I'm like, the head of Turbulent knows me by name. What the? Okay, Benoit, what's going on?
Right.
Well, you're the sleeping ASMR of every Star Citizen.
The fact that I've been in Apollo. Benoit has been following me for like since 2016 or is it 2017 GDC? They were that. It was 2015.
2017.
2017 was it?
I have the T-shirt.
Okay, 2017. Whatever it was, that's nuts. It's just like okay. But yeah, that's fun. And people have seen you around the verse. I know I saw you at CitizenCon as well with Soul Armada and everything like that. I've probably heard of Soul Armada. So, theme today. IAE. We've talked about IAE for the last 3 weeks, but the first week we talked about it, we just talked about the upcoming ships and what to look for. Last time we talked a little bit about the Intrepid and about the start of it so far and how things were working. Now that it's been a week and we're pretty much wrapped up with IAE, because for those of you who don't know, IAE will finish off next week, but this is the last day of beyond like Best in Show, where you get to see all of the ships that won the ship showdown, and then the finale, which allows you to rent every single ship that was on the floor, and plus other things like renting or buying rare loot, armor, and other things like that at the show floor with in-game cash, which would be great to do because you, of course, are gonna lose everything with 4.0 wipes, so you can buy a bunch of stuff to enjoy crazy things if you need to for the next couple of weeks. But this is effectively the end, with including the release of 4 new ships, one of which is a concept ship. So before we get on to those ships, though, let's generally take the temperature. Let's talk about the negative aspects. Is there anything that sort of stood out negatively in terms of this event this year, in terms of participation, CIG, performance, bugs, anything that stands out to you? I'll start with you, Apollo, not in that.
Sure. Yeah, the biggest thing I've noticed was just on the subreddit, there's a lot of negativity during this event. There's people complaining about price increases that are, kind of stealthy. Xylo had made a comment last year about not doing stealthy price increases, and then they went and did it again.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some of that. There's also the CCUs, like the different upgrades, war bonds that they're offering are not of the same tier as people were hoping. The ship sales, the nerf to the Redeemer, and then the release of the Paladin, making people go, and then, general participation in the event is kind of middling. I mean, there was a lot of hype around SitCon, and then it quickly died.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people kind of sat in their adrenaline and then kind of took a second to breathe, and then we're like, okay, yeah, I mean, it's back to where it's always been.
Yeah, I think that's this is the fastest we've seen this sort of drain, because like last year, we were there live for CitizenCon, and it built on itself. Like, it did well, and then the IAE was good, and then the end of the year was great, and then we moved into 2024, and then everything started falling apart because they didn't have a 3.23 patch that wasn't released until June, so we didn't even have a Q1 patch. And then they basically took 3.23 and then split it into 2 patches, which became basically this year's been 1 patch. And then if 4.0 comes out, even 4.0 is half. So I kind of see we sort of drained that energy there. The stealth price increases are interesting. I'm going to be a little honest on this one. It seems like much ado about nothing, because it was like $5.
Yeah.
It was 2 that I know of, which was the $5 for the Saber and $5 for the Cartual, which I think is more of the principle of the thing than it is like a people were looking to buy a Saber and were like, oh no, now it's $5 out of my price range sort of thing. So, Zark, any negatives that you can from your experiences in terms of like community interaction, bugs, performance, anything like that for this event?
Yeah, so let's go backwards. I say today the big negative thing I noticed was people complaining that, oh no, the Paladin is a multi-crew ship, I can't use it solo. Oh no, why would you do this, CIG?
That's not the case though.
Yeah, that was because first they didn't announce that the pilot could use the size 4 remote turrets.
Mm. Yeah, for those who don't know, the Paladin can use the size 4 remote turrets, according to them.
But even then, people are still like, "Oh no, I don't want to play on MMO where I have to play with other people."
Mm-hmm.
It's Then the next issue I think would be. So, I have both sides of the coin on those. The IAE episodes. There are people, myself included, that love them because they're something new, something interesting. They have very, very cool ideas in there. But I also know that people hate them because they click on the video, it plays for 30 seconds, they're like, no, not for me, and cut off, and don't get to the juicy bit in the middle. So, would be a negative. That might have been interesting to say episode 1, time to disable or something,
Yeah.
so people understand what's this about. And the last big negative thing actually is then the second. Now I think if I go backwards is the whole Star Citizen doesn't make enough money kind of debate that got off during the beginning of the whole IAE.
Yeah.
Fear-mongering, in my opinion. But I think we talk about this later on.
We'll probably talk about that. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I will point out, and we'll talk about this again before we go into the positive side of things.
The last negative thing, what I would say, this is something I share, is that the event was run during IAE.
Mm-hmm.
Pre-flight is always a bit of.
You're talking about Save Stanton?
Yeah, Save Stanton event. Especially you have the 4.0 deadline. You have to kill 3 addresses. And during free flight, these servers are always iffy. So if you have the free flight, then the addresses. I did try to do the phase 3 today. I got the first kill pretty much for free. I just shot 2 rockets and then some Polaris came around and topped the address to its deathbed. And afterwards, the mission didn't work anymore. I hopped servers a couple times, nothing worked, nothing went, impossible to do. So yeah, that would be my 4 negative things. The drain away with the excitement and so on, I don't think it's really about. I don't think there's less participation or the enthusiasm draining away, because I think most people are focused on the EPTU with 4.0. That's why IAE is not interesting.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely agree with that one. I think that a lot of one of the major problems with the enthusiasm is because this is the first time they've run an event with other events running. So like IAE plus Save Stanton plus 4.0 and EPTU. I don't think they've ever had a situation where they had like a patch like a 3.0 or a 3.18 running while another event was going on, like a sale. I think so. It's splitting a lot of attention. Like if you look at most the content creators, like at least live streamers, most of the live streamers are focused heavily on 4.0 content rather than focusing on IAE. And most of the content online right now on like YouTube is mostly just kind of coverage of the sale itself. So like Save Stanton is sort of in this weird zone where it's kind of awkwardly pulped out. And then free flight is always, for those of you who, if for some reason this is the first time you've ever seen anything about Star Citizen, you're watching this show, as Jared says, everyone shows their first show. I know that, but please tell me how you got here, little lost child. How did you end up in my this video as your first one? But in case you have, just in case, free flights are always the worst performance you will ever have in Star Citizen, because they always gain a lot of new people come in to just try it, because people always hear about the scam that's made now, $750 million, so almost $1 billion. And so people are like, this scam made $750 billion, but you can play it for free right now. And so people go,
try it.
But I can play it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try it. Why not? It's free. And every so often people will enjoy it and they go, hey, this is really fun. I can see where it's going. But because there's always such a huge number of people come in, the game servers break. They just do not function.
Yeah.
I will say that's probably one of the negatives, is that there's new and weird bugs have popped up because of this. The hangar bug being a big one, which was actually something that was happening before the free flight started, where basically if you're in New Babbage, you can't get out of your hangar, which is problematic because that's where IAE is.
I also noticed one new bug, and that's you're locked to a server bug.
Yeah.
Where you can't join any new game session for some weird reason, and it takes like 15 minutes, half an hour until your character's free again.
Yeah. Yeah, it can cause lots of there's lots of Star Citizen bugs that have decided to be very bad. Not being like elevators breaking. I can't tell you how many times elevators just broke, so you just can't function well. Those sorts of things.
Unbroken elevators. What
They
game are you
exist.
playing, Paul?
They do exist. Every so often, you just got to make sure you do you got to spin backwards and throw salt over your shoulder while you
do the ritual incantation.
Yes, the ritual incantation. I still say
Thank you
that's
on this,
us veterans who've been around forever. Are they like a new, when Star Citizen reaches 1.0 in a couple of years, and new players come in, let's get to the elevator, and all of us are like spinning around but counterclockwise and chanting Chris's name backwards as we walk in. They're like, "What is that?" It's like, "Oh, it's the only way to get the elevator to work." Usually, we're still not used to this, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's sorts of these little weird bugs I think have caused a little bit of a sour taste, because there's plenty of people I've seen commenting about how they wanted to come back because it's IAE, and they enjoyed watching CitizenCon. They come back in, they say, I can't even get out of my hangar. So
the funniest bug was today. So I went to the annual show floor. Sadly, I didn't hear the announcement, so I don't know if the McCrack announcement changed or is still there. But I went down, want to look at the Paladin. So there were some leaked rumors about the Paladin coming out, and some people found the holo viewer, and there were 2 crucibles in there, and then they speculated, okay, then it has to be twice as long as it now is. I went down to the holo viewer, and instead of a Paladin, there's still a crucible.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just have images now. We don't have a model yet.
And if you go to the crucible side, at the front you have the crucible listed, and and both ships are the crucible, but the back panel is for the Liberator.
Yeah.
No, for the Legionnaire.
Legionnaire.
Right.
So that's the thing. There's been a lot of that where, like, right, for instance, another problem. It's supposed to be for 2 days. They don't work for 2 days. They lose after a day. So it's these sorts of bugs which have either never happened before, or things that CIG could have tested for, but it's clear they didn't have enough time or manpower to test for it. So they just said, because they're all on 4.0. I also think that's the reason why the price increase wasn't announced, was because they just forgot about it, and nobody bothered to double check the copy, because like
it's the same with
they're busy with 4.0.
That the show floors are only there for 24 hours instead of 48.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like the show floor is crashing, and they even said, like, it's a bug. We know it's a bug. We won't be able to fix it until the end of the end of it. It feels a lot like CIG, where this IAE said we have to do IAE, but okay, here we go. Because it's clear that they wanted to get IAE out, but they thought they were going to have 4.0 out before IAE, which that's why it's called New Frontiers. So they just kind of sort of thing.
That's what it feels like. That's the general vibe of the show floor right now. Is just kind of like, yeah, there's like signs that don't match the ship, or like they don't send you to the right place. It's like, okay, well.
Yeah, at one point, one of the main, I think it was during like Drake Day, or was it Origin Day? They had like the Aegis layout on one of the maps. It was like, what?
Mm-hmm.
How did you even do this? Like, what is going on? Did nobody check any of these? Probably didn't, because a lot of the people who are responsible for checking those are probably just head deep in 4.0. So, so it's that's probably the biggest issue. And I think the other one, of course, is the reduced revenue, which we'll talk about here in next.
One more issue. As great as the IAE Academy is, and as an idea, getting people in, do the tutorial, do those starting missions. If you decide to stay, you get the armor. For veteran players, it's like, okay, you have it, so you most likely have most of those quests already, so you already get the armor. If not, just do 1 or 2 of those things, and then you track it via the homepage with 1 stamp a day and no clear. I got my 3 stamp, so I got the cargo hauling stamp day 1 as I did this.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing the tutorial, went to the shop floor, took a look, nothing on the homepage, refreshed it a couple hours later, I got the cargo hauling stamp. 2 days, nothing happens. Then I have all of a sudden 3 stamps. Okay, then the first distribution of the armor comes around. I have no armor. And I know so many people who have issues with getting those stamps and knowing it. As great as the idea is, like getting those free flight people to do something, some easy missions to hold their hands or something. Please use a different system. Something else. Just do it like the Save Stanton, track it via the journal or whatever, and who cares? But not this again.
Yeah.
And not this only one stamp a day.
We'll get to it because I actually think there is some merit to it. I think that's the least of my concerns about this, and I actually think it's I'd expect it to be broken because it's the first time they've done something like this. But let's get into the reclaimer in the room, which is the funding. For those of you who don't know, Star Citizen's funding this year has always been sort of weird. It lagged behind significantly at the beginning of the year, and then it jumped with Invictus, thanks to the Ironclad, and it was actually above pacing after Invictus, and then it slowed down again over the summer, and this last CitizenCon wasn't quite as big as previous years. September wasn't quite as big, so it's been sort of off and on a little bit. It's been close to pacing of the past couple of years and then not. As of this recording, it was somewhere around 95 to 98 million this year. And as a result, it's not quite on pace to break last year's record of 117 million, I believe. And maybe not even making the same record as the year before that, which was a record year. That itself was 113 million. Now, for perspective, 2020 had 85 million. So it's still well over the pacing of 2020, which was one of the best years of Star Citizen in terms of participation, new people signing up, all that kind of stuff. So the question is, and I'll start with you on this, Zark, should people be concerned about what could possibly happen if CIG doesn't make another record-breaking year? What if they only make 100 million, or 105 million rather than the 117 million that they made last year? Is this going to be a bad thing, a good thing? Is this just nothing? What do you think?
So we always had some fluctuation in the earnings of CIG throughout the years. I mean, especially in the beginning, we had 2 or 3 years that were quite weak. So I believe 2015 was very high, 2016, 2017 was rather low, 2018 picked up back again, or something like this.
Yeah. We've only had one down year, which is like 2017, which is the big down year.
So if we only get 100 million, it's still 15 million more than 2020. It's 10% less than 2023 at 2022. 70% less than 2023. That's okay in my books, because CIG does not run on 115 million, and if they don't make 150 million a year, everything gets destroyed.
Yeah.
So if we make enough money to fund the game, which someone in here definitely knows how much this should be in the chat.
Yeah.
I know we have a couple of people usually watching that are
Calculating
very, very
things.
good with all those numbers. But I say if we make 100 million, we are fine. We are completely fine. And considering that today they had to announce that people have to be patient with their orders being fulfilled because there were so many people buying stuff, I don't doubt it. I think the Paladin goes like crazy. So money-wise, I don't see any issue, especially since there aren't any big costs left, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So because the new offices are there, there's no need to expand in terms of real estate. I don't think CIG will expand people-wise either, at least not by a huge amount, because they already have 1,000 people. You can only expand so much for a single game.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see another huge expansion to 1,500, 2,000 people coming.
Okay.
And Squadron is around the corner, so even if we would make a bit less than they would need. Having Squadron pretty much done fine, done.
Mhm.
Should
Feature complete.
feature complete and also should make them really go, okay, yeah, we can stem this tide. And then there's also the thing to consider. I think people are just people didn't really have a good chance to spend money this year, in my opinion.
Okay.
This might also factor. And also, we have growing prices all over the world, so
Yeah.
obviously, what you spend goes down. And on the other hand, aside from the Ironclad and the Paladin, there weren't really any ships that were like exciting. And we have 2 more Saber Ravens.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, no one cares. No one cares.
Do you think, I'll add this to you, do you think that it would have been different if they had sold the Mirai Guardian instead of, say, this year rather than this 4.0? Because I've heard a lot of buzz about the Guardian. People seem to be excited about the Guardian.
I think if they had brought out the Mirai Guardian instead of the Saber Penguin or Peregrine, or what was it? There would have been a lot more money in there. Definitely. Definitely. Not just because the ship itself would be a bit more expensive, but also because more people would be excited. Let's face it, the Saber Raven racing variant. Yeah, I know there are probably some fanboys out there that love the ship, and good for you.
Yeah.
Saber Raven looks great, but there aren't a lot of people that will buy it. That's the thing. And if, as you said, Paul, the Ironclad came out, it was an exciting ship. It's a great ship. It has great features. It wasn't too expensive. It wasn't this nice 300, 400 buck range.
Yeah.
Sells like hotcake. And I think the same we see with the Paladin today once the numbers are up there. So I think it really also comes down to what was there that we could have bought.
Sorry, I'm trying to mix I see my mic is constantly humming for some reason. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with that one. But all right, I think it's a good way of putting it. Apollo, is this lack of money a concern? Is this lack of funding a concern? I say lack. I mean, it's still $90 million, right. But you know.
Yeah, knowing the number of employees they have, how many developers they have. I mean, they just had a article published about them with some layoffs going on. Mm-hmm. They're going to have to kind of tone down their Squadron 42 team a little bit as it's feature complete, and they just go into polish phase and they go into releasing. It's going to have to shift from development to then marketing, mm-hmm. And then building the hype in the rest of the world about Squadron 42's release. And they're going to have to shift some people over to Star Citizen. So there's going to be a lot of shifting going on. I think we can all sort of predict that pretty easily. I don't know if I can say too much about pay on the developers. But if you just do like 1,000 employees, I know they have more than that now.
Yeah.
1,000 employees times 100,000 a year, that's already 100 million.
Yeah.
And 100,000 a year is low for development. And I know they're not all developers, but like they're gonna push their budgets on just employees.
Yeah.
So it's they're riding a fairly thin line. So yeah, it is always going to be a concern. And they're going to have to maybe reach out to more funding sources than just the community. The community is fairly fickle.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the funding is dependent on the goodwill of the community. And they've been burning a lot of it recently, just not delivering on things and having kind of lackluster responses to the community's complaints. I don't know. There's definitely been a sort of souring in the last year or so. I've felt it just kind of in a lot of different places in the community. People are just kind of like, yeah, I'm going to go play all these other games. Helldivers came out, mm-hmm. Satisfactory's in 1.0. There's a lot of other games that people can play that are going to take our time. We're just going to, watch Star Citizen and see what's going on, but I'm not going to play it, not going to fund it. There was that huge surge of like no money until Pyro,
Yeah.
right? That happened, and then that took hold, and there's just a lot of people that are like, I'm not going to spend money, or they're giving very little, buying little bits of the CCU chains that they want to get, and then just not dropping big chunks of money on the game. I think when Pyro releases and they release a couple more ships for it, maybe the Guardian comes out for 4.0, they will see a big surge in funding. 4.0 is going to have a big marketing push behind it. We can kind of sense that. And yeah, I mean, 4.0 is going to be a make it or break it kind of thing for them.
Yeah.
It's got to be big. It's got to grab the attention of a lot of people who haven't really looked at Star Citizen before. I bet they're banking on that in more ways than one.
Yeah. I will say I don't think it's too much of a concern, because the things that a lot of people don't understand under the hood is that CIG gets a lot of tax credit from the UK offices, for the UK offices. Like, they get a lot of money back from the government for their offices in the UK. And since most of their offices in the UK, that's kind of it. And we also have known for at least a year, maybe a little bit longer than that CIG has been heavily moving people away from the US studios towards Manchester. So a lot of those reports of like, people being fired, or laid off. It's not something that's like been a secret, because I remember maybe it was a 10 for the chairman, or not chairman, like a letter from the chairman early this year or something like that, where they said, yeah, we're moving focus away from US towards Manchester. Manchester is going to be our new headquarters and everything else like that. So like, it's something that we known for a while. It's more of a repositioning rather than like a layoff, because they're still hiring a bunch of people for Manchester as well.
And I'll be honest, the leaks, reports, whatever you want to call them, about the recent layoffs, like there was crunch, and now you're laid off. I have no idea how many people supposedly are laid off. I get no sources from the people claiming this. So
even the source itself said something like less than 1%.
Yeah, I mean, if 10 people get laid off from 1,000 people, that's like a tenth of a percentage.
Yeah.
So that's like no one cares. That's people who have, maybe they are sick, maybe they found something better, maybe they have family reasons, all those things. So if you have 1,000 people, every week there will someone who leaves the company.
Yeah, companies that big. Like I've worked in companies that big, but like I've never worked at a company that had 1,000 people in it in one location. And those companies, it's hard to track, and there were people coming and going all the time, because it's just how it works. Now, I will say that there has been a downturn in funding, and I honestly believe that the reason why there's a downturn in funding is because CIG didn't release patches this year. Because if you look at every time they've released a patch, they've had spikes in funding.
Yep.
And when 4.0 comes out, there's going to be a spike in funding. Because when CIG releases content, doesn't matter if it's buggy or not, it's good. They'll have at least a surge in prices. If it's long as it's not 318, it won't break them in terms of.
And usually the patch comes with a new exciting ship,
new content,
new Warband deals,
yeah,
whatever. And as I said, this year really feels like there was nothing to spend your money on.
Yeah, there was nothing to bite into. Like saber variants, as I said, I don't want to poo-poo on sabers, because like I know there are people who love sabers, but sabers have never been a super hot commodity. Like no one's been like scrambling to get a saber. But if they sold something like the Super Hornet Mark II, what was it, the Valentine edition, the Heartseeker, if they had sold that, even if it concept,
oh yeah,
people they would have just
have to bring the paint for the Mark II Hornet, just the paint,
just the Mark II, the Heartseeker paint, yeah, like, so there's like these little things like that which they could have done, and I think they just misplayed a lot of the ship sales, which is one of the reasons why it's so low. It's just they just didn't quite hit it, and I think the combination of the ships not being quite exciting, because the one thing everyone was looking for when they released the Firebird, everyone's like, oh, are you going to do a QED variant of the Raven? And instead of releasing QED variant, they released a racing variant. And it's like, I love racing. Racing in Star Citizen is fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
EchoBit and the crews that do all of the, oh gosh, what are they? What am I blanking on them? Atmo Esports,
Atmo, yeah.
Yeah, all of the folks who are doing racing stuff. It's really good content, but it's niche. It is like as somebody who does lore content for Star Citizen, I understand what a niche is. Like, I am a niche of a niche. So I understand that those content creators and the groups are working really hard, and it's really mostly to support themselves and their own passions and their love for those things. And I know CIG comes from a racing background. A lot of folks at CIG come from either working on racing games or big fans of racing. So they really want to support that crew, but they're supporting, and then there's spending 18 months making a ship. Like, especially since it was the only ship that was sold at that time. It was when it came out, it was just like, what? So I get Wyatt, but it was like, I think they just misplayed a lot of that stuff.
By the way, Paul, if you make a lore video about racing, you can call it the niche of the niche within the niche.
There we go. So like it's fine, but I think CIG misplayed a bunch of things. I think they because they failed to release a bunch of patches, they only really realistically have released one patch this year.
Yeah.
They released 3.23, and then they split 3.23 into two patches, and so we've kind of had trickle patches, so forth. And we've got like a quarter of a patch in 3.2, 3.2, and or 2.24, 3.24.2 and .3 were both 4.0 based patches, and a lot of the stuff that was in 4.0 came out then, but 4.0 didn't come out. So it's one of those like 4.0, they'll have released 1.5 patches, and 4.0 is such a big patch, it probably will do well if they release it on time before the end of the year.
And just to go a bit, looking a bit into the future, if I take a look at the silhouettes from this CitizenCon, what ships they are working on, Ironclad, Pioneer, both things that are exciting. Perseus, exciting. The weird, probably Drake silhouette that looks like a cut off Corsair or something.
Yeah.
Exciting. I think they realize this, and they'll bring a lot more exciting ships next year to compensate.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Ironclad got bumped up the list because of how much it sold. Like, because it's according to interviews that I've seen, or because Execute and Algrid had a chance to sit down with the ship team at IAE. I've heard a little bit of their discussions, and the things that they came across with from that team was that pretty much every ship takes 18 months. There are other things that take, the actual design process and production might take less, but to get through the full pipeline is 18 months. So if they did the concept and they were like, okay, well, the concept is here, and then we'll come back to it a little bit later. I think what happened is that they hit the concept. The concept did so well. They were like, there's a huge call for this. People are really excited for it. We need to start working on this.
I think it's not just the excitement for the Ironclad itself. Surely it helped, but considering how much they've shown off the Kraken in all those trailers and all those teasers, I think they really want to get the Kraken out.
That too.
And
they need the Ironclad to get the Kraken out. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that the exterior of the Kraken is probably pretty finished.
It's probably first pass, kind of like how the Polaris was first pass out at Invictus.
Probably going for Lot Zero and all those things now.
Yeah.
But then you throw in the Ironclad, go in. You can use the Ironclad with the command module to rework the Caterpillar command module. You can use the Ironclad to rework to do some finishing fixes on the Caterpillar.
Yeah.
Then you could sell some Caterpillar modules.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of worth outside of just being an exciting ship.
So that being said, I don't think CIG is in a bad state if they only make a little over 100 million. But at the same time, I think it is a good indication that CIG needs to improve. next year.
Mhm.
And I think the big thing, my personal hope, is that CIG can maintain momentum, because they always waste their momentum early on, where like they just basically kick off the Q1 because they burn themselves out. It's a vicious cycle. The end of the year, they crunch super hard, but because they crunch super hard on everything to getting done, then everyone is completely flatlined. And so they take a break, and then when they come back, they have to fix all the problems, because for those of you who don't know, crunch doesn't work. Crunch is a sign of a bad management. So while it does happen, and it does happen often because no one's perfect, it is also often leads to worse products. And crunch isn't a thing that's unique to the video games industry. It happens in every industry. If you've ever worked more times because you need to get a project done because there's a deadline, you got to get it finished, and you worked more often than you should have, that's crunch. It's not unusual. But if you're crunching on, say, counting stock for like a retail store, you might miss a couple of things more than you would if you had more time. But that's not as big of a deal as like screwing up code where you have a bunch of bugs now. So often with crunch, you have to go in and fix all of the problems you did when you were making crunch. So it often, not always, but often leads to just bad products. It doesn't actually help. So what feels like it's been happening is that CIG crunches in the end of the year. That crunch causes them to make a bunch of mistakes that they have to fix at the beginning of the new year. And because they have to fix those in the beginning of the new year, they have to put off all of their plans for the new year to later, which then causes them to crunch at the end of the next year because they didn't get all their plans done. And this causes a cycle back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, rather than them just either stopping in 1 year, just saying, okay, we're going to focus on quarter one or whatever and just be as kind of a rest. We're going to get some things done, or end of the year, quarter four is more of a light patch. They don't want to sort of do these.
I feel like they do a lot of the big like design meetings early in the year.
That's
like
true,
when
yeah.
they come back from break. They spend a long time on the theory of the game, and then they come back to building. They get that break kind of lets them step back from the project for a bit and kind of reassess what they were really trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
So we've seen in the last couple of years some pretty good changes in direction on some things, and a refocusing on what needs to be built, and we've seen a much increased pace of development through that.
Yeah.
And I really have to say, the last 18 months are probably, next to the 3.0 drought, the worst 18 months there have been. Simply because it's the replication layer and now the server meshing. Two big technologies that just fucked up.
Yeah.
They fucked up the game and they have to fix it. And I don't think there's any better way to do this. I don't think they are making any big mistakes. And the reason, and I wouldn't even say that they're crunch. So they are crunching right now, but I feel it's less of a we have to meet this deadline. It's more about like they're getting frustrated that 4.0 has to come out now. They have to bring it out. They have to say, okay, we are finally there. We got it. And if we have to do some beautification afterwards, that's fine.
Yeah.
But it has to come out.
But
We can't do it anymore.
The concern I have is that CIG tends to, this has happened the last 2 years, where like the first quarter patch is just basically thrown out the window. It happened with 3.18. It happened last year as well with 3.23, where they just sort of took longer than they had because the cleanup from the previous year took too long. And I'm hoping that with the talk about how 1.0 is the goal and they have a roadmap for 1.0 in place, instead of having to sit there at the beginning of the year and be like, where are we? Them to be like, here's our roadmap. Here's where we want to go. Are we on pace? Yes, no, maybe. And then they can get to getting a quarter one patch done. Because I think if they can hit a good cadence of each quarter has a patch, CIG's not going to hit it directly because CIG is CIG. So, quarter one patch coming at the very beginning of quarter two or whatever, but that sort of thing. But if they hit that cadence, I think that will improve their sales numbers more than anything else. I really hope CIG stays away from the stupid, in case you missed it sale. That was the dumb idea. I do not think sales work in the sense of just sales for sales sake. Yeah. The reason why IAE and Invictus are special is because they're in-game. and that has driven more people to engage in the game more than just like it's Thanksgiving, or not Thanksgiving. It's St. Patrick's Day. Come buy sales, buy ships, sort of thing. So
I think the most effective thing that they've done has been the well, Safe Stanton's a kind of a copy of it, but the event for Overdrive Initiative before Zenith Threat, where there was a tangible reward for your account for completing these missions. That's a really neat thing that they're doing, and that's going to allow them to surge interest in the game, and then people who are really interested in those exclusive rewards for playing the game are going to come back and play, and then they're going to, it's a knock-on effect. They're going to look at the store, they're going to buy more things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's you need people to show. It's an old. The tale as old as business. You want people to show up to your stores. You have to find a way for people to walk through those doors. And while they're there for the other thing, they might as well get this thing. It's the impulse buy, or the like, we got you through the store. Now let's take a look around and see if you want to buy anything else.
So I have to say, there's one thing I'm optimistic about the Q1 patch, and that's a lot of the things that got cut from 4.0 got cut because they don't want to have it tangle up with server meshing.
Yeah, you don't have QA time for it. That's what it is.
So I think that pretty much the Q1 patch will release with just the cut content and be done. So the cadence should be there if they don't mess up massively with something. And considering it's server meshing we're talking about, it could be, though what I've heard so far, the EPTU runs quite smooth for what it is.
There's some problems. Like the jump point doesn't work properly, and the elevators will break every so often. But it's like Star Citizen bugs, not like the back end is on fire sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah. It's the easy stuff. It's
game.
I'll be honest.
Not server related, or maybe some
the jump point not working is like, I don't care. That's the same level like elevator not working.
Yeah.
It happens. I'm used to it. I don't lose any sleep over it.
All right, let's move on to the positive side, because we've got to go through the negative side. I do want to go to the positive side and talk about the ships beforehand. So, Apollo, I'm going to start you on this one. What are some of the positives of this event that you enjoyed?
Shoot. I mean, really, the Save Stanton stuff is cool. It's, well, when it works, right? The adding different kinds of missions into a series is a good concept. Giving players options for different phases, having like 2 choices of missions that you can do. You don't have to do both of them. You can do one of them 6 times, and it's just the same thing over and over. Yeah. I think that's fine. The ships that have released, I mean, we got the Intrepid. There was a lot of interesting discussion around it. I would give it probably, slightly above, like the total sentiment, right, is slightly positive. They did upgrade its weapon size to size 4. It's a decent starter now. It's got some interior cargo, a little nice space inside. They're giving people free paints for it. Like overall pretty decent. The best in show paints are not popular in the community. Well, it's very divided. Some people love them, some people really don't. What else has gone well? I'm struggling.
I'll go next, and I'll let Zark finish with it. I think the performance overall is good.
Oh yes,
I don't think the performance just really took a hit much. There are some weird places that it's kind of the frustrating. The performance is frustrating because I'll start off, wake up in my hab, it'll load in. You can feel the chunking of it loaded in. Once it's fully loaded in, I'll walk out the hab and it's like smooth, like 40 to 60 FPS, even in landing zones. And it's like, what game am I playing suddenly? And then you get to like you pull up your mobi-glass to do something, or you go to the ASOP terminals, and all of a sudden the game says, "All right, you're playing Star Citizen. Here's 2 FPS." And and
trying to scroll my friends list in the comms app.
It's just like
brings it down to less than 1 for me.
Yeah, it's super unoptimized, some of these aspects. So it's one of those it's truly an alpha where there's lots of parts of the game which feel really, really optimized. They've really taken care of their time and to really work on it to make sure it's good. And then you get to like the details, and it's like, why is this a slideshow? Why does this feel like I'm suddenly playing a text adventure from 1992? You know?
I did phase 2. I struggled to get out of the hab. I struggled to get my ship. I went in the ship. I flew out of the hangar. Smooth as hell. I could snipe the assassination targets from 200 meters away, no problem.
Yeah, it's
Perfect.
It's weird in that kind of sense. But I would say the performance is not what I expected it to be with a free flight, because free flights are usually dog awful performance where everything is bad. And this year it was more normal. But even better.
Year the performance increases. Every year the free flight hit, the performance gets less.
Yeah. And before anyone gets mad at me for saying performance was good and their performance was bad or whatever, I as I said before, it's the bugs. I don't think a lot of these performances are like drops or because of like the game servers are suffering. It's just they're normal Star Citizen bugs finally for once. And when you have more people playing, yet there's more bugs are going to show up, but more people playing without the servers taking that hit, it's like, oh, wow, they must have done something right in the back end. So
I mean, you can get unlucky like I did today, and you have like one server recovery after another for like a half an hour.
Yeah.
And nothing is running anymore, so we still have everything is burning bugs, but overall, yeah, performance is great for now, IAE.
What were you saying, Apollo?
There are still some memory leaks, specifically around certain stations or moons, stuff like that, where I noticed it's like, oh, I'm using 30 gigabytes of memory for Star Citizen. What?
Yeah.
So
yeah. As always, you say something positive about Star Citizen, everyone in chat decides to explain how you're wrong. And people are saying, well, I've been, having rough servers. That's fine. What I'm saying is not everyone is feeling like the servers are dying on them, which is typically what happens when a free flight happens. Like everyone's performance gets degraded massively. And this is the first time I've played where I'm like, there are sections of this game which are better than normal. Strangely, like the bunker missions can be better, more responsive. We were doing one of the assassination missions where we assassinated a target, and then one of my crew tried to jump out and try to go grab a little panel for lore reasons. And as he came back, he tried to give it to me, and at that point, the dusters spawned again, and they started coming after us, and they were just flanking and shooting us. And I'm like, the server FPS is like 4. Why? How are they so responsive right now? Like, I had to he tried to run, I tried to jump to his cover and shoot them, shot a bunch of them before I got downed, and while I was trying to heal him and that kind of stuff. So it was one of those weird sort of situations where that wouldn't have happened last year's IAE. I would have had they would have derped out and stared at the ground for the 5 hours rather than fight us.
Did you get a chance to try out the distribution center mission when that was in the PTU?
No.
That was it was a slideshow, but it was very impressive. Having hundreds of NPCs. Did you do Security Post Korea for Overdrive Initiative?
Yeah.
Yeah, where they were spawning every 30 seconds, 8 at a time in the closets. It was that in the distribution center. People were having to go in squads, and then dealing with 4 or 5 FPS at the time, as there were 50 ships in the sky that people were blowing up, and then they were raining components down on the ground. It was just absolute war zone kind of style stuff. It was really cool. I wish that they had optimized that to the point where it was playable, because that was something that people were really looking forward to. And then they removed it because of performance reasons.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll improve as they go along, because it's clear that they have a desire for these things and they have good planning. It's just like I've always said that the mission team is fine, and I feel like most of the time the missions break because the back end has issues rather than them. So the fact that the Wave 3 doesn't spawn, I think has less to do with the mission and more to do with how the server functions. I'm sure there's still some issues with the missions, but it always feels more like too much emphasis on the mission team not doing good, and it should be more emphasis on just the game's performance just isn't there yet. So
I know Elliot Maltby is just pulling his hair out. He's like, I designed this thing and it's my baby, and it's not working the way that I want it to.
Zark, any positives you could pull away from this?
So one of the big positives for me is surely the IAE episodes. I do like the way they designed them. Like, okay, it's you zapping through some channels on your TV. I like some of the ideas they brought in. Great. I like the topics they're talking about. Especially capital ship combat was really interesting. Because it shows they have an idea what they're going for, and I think we see more of those things simply because now that they have an idea for what 1.0 is, they have figured out what other parts should look like, and I think they'll explain them more and more over the next couple of years. The Intrepid is great. It's an ugly duckling, sure, but even with the size 3 gun, I think it's an awesome starter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before they increased it, I already loved the whole design, even with the size 3 gun, simply because having an interior with a suit locker, with a gun rack, place to sleep, place to cook, it's such a huge advantage over every other starter except the Nomad. It's insane. And even the Nomad doesn't have a suit locker. So if you think about, okay, I can't use heavy armor if I fly.
Yeah.
I can't use a backpack if I fly. I have to cook my meals. I have to store my heavy guns if I fly. Now I fly somewhere and I have to fight. I want to log out right here, right now, and I log back in. All those things, the Intrepid is great for it. It's a great design ship. That it's an ugly duckling, I think it adds to its charm. It's just like this.
Can we talk about the Polaris?
Huh?
Can we talk about the Polaris for a bit?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, let me come to Polaris soon.
Yeah.
Then we have server performance was great. The IAE Academy is a great idea.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna. I'll follow along by that. I think the IAE Academy is good. It's a good idea. Yeah. It's version 1, so it's going to have some problems. But I support this. I want to see them do that in game in the future. Like I'd love to see an Invictus Academy or something else like that. That's great.
I want to see more of those things and maybe a more in-depth version for not the free flight people, but for us. Where it's not like, okay, you pretty much already have all those missions, or a friend of mine has the issue, he did all those missions before 324, so he doesn't get the stamps anymore. So yeah. And as for the ships, overall, all great. Let's talk about the ships by themselves.
Yeah, we're kind of over time because we talked a little bit, but I'll go ahead and start, Zark.
Let's start with the
we're going to focus on a couple of ships, but you want to talk a little bit of the Polaris, we can talk about the Polaris because I think that's another positive that people.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Polaris.
Let's talk about the Intrepid. Let's talk about the medical terrapin, and let's talk about the Paladin and the Polaris. So Intrepid, we've already talked about. You talked about a little bit about it. What about the medical terrapin?
It's great. It's a great medic ship. We have a jump seat. We have storage for some gear. It's a great small little ambulance. There isn't much to say about it because it's just a well-made ship. It's great. It's what I think everyone in the community wanted for the last 5 or 6 years. We have it.
A true combat medic, can survive attacks and come in. And then
the only thing missing might be a true jump seat for a heavy armed medic who can just jump out in heavy armor or something. But that's details.
There's a lot of people salivating over it. It's a really nice entry into the list of ships, and it's the same price as the regular Terrapin. Kind of shocked everybody. People were expecting it to be, $15, $20 more than the regular Terrapin, and that it's the same price is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I will say that the suit lockers and gun racks aren't really that important to me. when it comes to the Terrapin, because the Terrapin is a combat medic. Like, I don't see the medical Terrapin being used as a long-range explorer medic. It's more of you attach it to like a Polaris, and you go out and you recover people who are downed, and you pull them back in, and you get them fixed up, because it doesn't really have a lot of cargo on it. So it's mostly just you because eventually all of those medical beds are going to use resources, and those resources are going to be medicine.
You've got your pilot. You have one medic, probably in heavy armor with the gun on the jump seat. You come in, he jumps out, maybe uses a tractor beam, maybe uses the med pistol and gets the downed person, put him on the med bed, and the Terrapin is gone already. It's really more like the trauma team from Cyberpunk, if you take a look.
It's literally the trauma team bus from Trauma. They even have a skin that is just the trauma team thing from Cyberpunk. It's exactly that.
So is the Terrapin medic gonna be the loner for the Apollo?
That could is it? We don't know. They change up the loners every so often, so that could see that though. It is close in price to the Apollo, that's where it kind of gets a little shaky. But I don't see the Apollo flying into a combat zone. To be fair,
I mean, you've got the Medivac that is more heavily armored, has missiles. You know, it's supposed to be a combat.
When we started talking about not enough funding, and from then to now we have made 200,000.
Yeah,
and Star Citizen.
There we go. All right, let's talk about the Paladin. Let's talk about the Polaris, then we'll finish off with the Paladin and move on to question and answers. The Dorito, Apollo. You've been wanting to talk about the Dorito, the spicy Dorito. What's your thoughts?
Right, the torpedo Dorito, as it were. It's performance-wise pretty solid. I've seen capital ship fights with 3 of them against an Idris, and they're all firing their torpedoes, and the Idris is using its PDCs to kill them, and it works. It's smooth. I've seen people gathering together in the Star Citizen subreddit Discord. 5 or 6 people. The channel name is like, I have a Polaris, come join us.
Yeah.
And there's like 5 or 6 of these channels that are all just, this is a Polaris crew, and it's really cool to see that happening. The fact that there's now a capital-sized ship that requires a crew of more than 3 people is incredible, and it's a kind of design principle that I want to see more of. I want CIG to build ships that require multi-crew. I think the big ships should be that way. I don't think anything larger than maybe a Perseus should require, or I don't think anything larger than a Perseus should require fewer than 3 people ever.
Yeah.
It's an MMO. It's got to be treated like an MMO.
Those ships are raid ships or dungeon ships. To be the equivalent of like going into a dungeon or a raid. That's what they should be.
Something really interesting.
Go ahead, Vlad.
Enemy NPCs are now going to get Polaris.
Yeah, that's the thing. I wouldn't be surprised if the mission that currently has the Idris gets changed to a Polaris. I think that would make a little bit more sense and a little bit more fun. So, go ahead, Zark. What were you saying?
Yeah, the thing with the Polaris is seeing the ship in game, and first of all, it's crazy nimble. For a ship that size, the speed and the agility it has is crazy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's intentional though.
Yeah, and that's why I want my Anvil Corvette, which is like a brick.
Yeah.
And you just chuck it in and hope for the best. But seeing the Polaris, I'm completely with you there, Apollo. I want more Corvettes. I don't want any more Idrises or Krakens. I want more Corvettes with those 6 to 12 people size. And the really interesting thing about the Polaris is the way it feels different. It feels more like a base. And you go in there and you have a base. And if I would go onto with an orc going somewhere, small orc, use a Polaris, you have your medbeds, you have your mainstay cargo, you have a hangar for something small, get 1 or 2 other ships with you that your orc needs. You've got everything you need. So that's what I really hope we see more of with some more Corvettes. That they have this flying base character.
Yeah.
Because I think that's really what the people and especially the orcs want from those ships. Not so much that I can fight with them, because no one can finance fighting every day with a Polaris.
I think to your point, I think this kind of request from the community of wanting fewer combat ships or more ships that are non-combat focused, I think partially influenced the Intrepid. Right? Not everything has to have guns on guns on guns.
Yeah.
Like the Intrepid's got this kind of niche identity of like, it's not really meant for combat.
That's why I was sad when it got the size 4 gun. I really dislike this choice, because I think the size 3 gun would fit more with the style of the ship.
I think
it has a gun, yes, but it's a token gun.
I think people were mad that it just was unbalanced. Like when you had a larger gun, it looks a little bit more balanced. So, but yeah. So someone was saying you forgot the Star Lancer, Paul. I'm not going to talk about every single ship. It's you want to see me talk about every single ship at IAE. Look at the previous videos. We actually did a talk through of all the different ships at IAE.
Watch the lore tour.
Yeah, or the lore tours. That too. I will also say the Polaris, having crewed on many Polarises, Polaris is a fantastic multi-crew ship. It is mean, it is dangerous, and it is fun. It is not the most engaging content, though. I've seen multiple people be like, "This is boring to watch," or "This looks boring," and it's like it's not really. But a lot of Star Citizen, and I do think that it also sets up a situation that a lot of people are going to start realizing. Star Citizen is not Star Wars. It is not Call of Duty. You're not going to be constantly engaged all the time forever. A lot of Star Citizen is just hurry up and wait. Prepare your stuff together, get ready to go, and go out and plan. Create a plan, gather people together, and then execute on the plan. And that last part, that last execution on the plan is probably going to be hopefully most of the time, but it'll likely still be at least half the time of what you're doing before. So like, that's what you're going to do.
And the great thing is, the Polaris is the first Corvette. So when we get the next 1, 2, or 3, they all will be better.
Yeah.
Because they took a lot of... I know that they took a lot of lessons from this ship.
Yeah.
And we'll see them.
I've seen some people comment that it looks rushed, and my argument is it works. It's alpha. It works. They'll fix it later. Anything else that needs it does the gameplay feel good? Does the ship feel right? And the answer is yeah. And most of the ship is kind of useless because it was built for 4.0 in mind, and a lot of the 4.0 stuff isn't out yet. So it's like,
one of the best features in the Polaris is you go on you sit on the co-pilot, you have your little button where you can open the hangar, where you can pull up those side ramps to the doors.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got a camera to look into the hangar and see what's going on there.
The remote camera's cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's just awesome, because that's what's needed on such ships.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Paladin, and then we'll move on to the question and answers. So for those who don't know, the Paladin is a concept ship that was released by for Anvil, that was released today. It is $260 war bond, $300 normal, like just regular credit. War bond, for those who don't know, is just fresh cash. It's basically $260 for brand new cash, or $300 for cash and or credit. So if you have melted a bunch of other ships, you can get it for $300. It is
10-year insurance.
With 10-year insurance, yeah. It is a 4-person ship with a pilot, co-pilot, and 2 gunners. And if you don't have the 2 gunners, then the pilot can take control of the 2 size 4 guns, but they cannot take control of the top size 5 turret, which has a rail on it, which can traverse from top to bottom. As someone joked, it is the Scorpius that ate its Wheaties. It's kind of thing. It
One
has
size 5s on a 1-player turret is wild.
Yeah. Well, at least it's like pilot controlled. That would have been absolutely overpowered.
Oh yeah, that would have been the new Corsair.
This
is the new Hammerhead Hunter.
Yeah, that's what this is. So the pilot can actually fire guns.
They get four-size fours.
They can operate four-size force. We don't know. We need clarification on if that means that they can go into the remote turret mode or if they can fire it fixed forward. I feel that it's probably just going to fire you, but it's fixed forward.
I think
so
gimbaled or fixed forward, yes.
Yeah.
Would make the most sense.
Kind of like how the Nova tank can be fired from the driver's seat, but
Yeah.
you can't really maneuver it. You can't really aim it. You have a small range you can fire it from.
It's going to be a two-player ship, realistically.
Yeah.
It's going to have two people in it. It's going to be like the Redeemer, where you get three people. You get one person and then two people on the turret, and that's it. You don't need the other tiny cannons.
I say that's one of the really interesting things about this ship is you can come in with 4 people. You have your suit lockers and weapon racks down for heavy armor, so you can really gear up, still fly the ship. You come in, you bring hell, you land.
Mm-hmm.
The co-pilots, the gunners from the lower deck, jump back, equip themselves, rush out, do the mission, and you provide air support. So I think it will be a 4-person ship for all those missions, because you have 2 people that can do the missions outside the ship.
Or
you can still provide cover.
Or also act as engineers. So that allows for that sort of thing. I think the one thing that we're missing in the context is engineering. And based off of CIG's discussions, engineering is a huge deal in the game going forward. Like, if you have a multi-crew ship, you're going to want an engineer because they're going to keep you alive longer.
I could see actually the pilot also having. They always talk about how you can modify and change your MFDs to suit your needs. So if you run the ship with 4 people, you could bring up a lot more engineering MFDs. So as the pilot, you could much more efficiently work your shields or something.
Mm-hmm.
So this could also provide a benefit. And yeah, this ship has a lot of potential because having a crew of 2 to 4 people, that's the baseline small group you always see.
It is the perfect. It is the perfect Goldilocks. It's the Goldilocks gameplay as we've deemed it. So.
It's large enough to have a lot of fuel. It has. The small 50-meter ship has a size 3 shield.
Yeah.
That's insanity.
It's the same size as the Valkyrie. It has a lot of design keys from the Valkyrie too. So,
I mean, it's an envelope ship. It's a brick you throw at people.
Yeah. So your thoughts on it, Apollo?
As a Redeemer owner, I'm a little salty. And
Why?
I'm probably going to end up owning one.
Yeah.
Now you have a better ship, so you should be happy.
Yeah.
Finally get a good gunship.
Yeah, but he can't get it LTI because the Redeemer's going to probably be the exact same price as this.
Because I have the best in show paint from last year. That was great.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's conflicting. You know, it's a great ship. I mean, I'm not going to knock it. It's going to be the next kind of go-to ship for when I do org operations. We need to go kill hammerheads, like do VHRTs, ERTs. We're just going to go, okay, let's hop in a couple paladins. Like, we only need 2. And let's go kill a bunch of stuff easily and then have a cargo ship come and carry the cargo off of the bounties. Like, it's just going to be an easy decision. I think the community is always trying to find the highest DPS for the lowest number of players.
Yeah.
And this is going to provide that niche really easily, handily for all kinds of groups. It's going to be like, okay, yeah, go get the paladins. This is our fleet now.
I will warn people though, because CIG has a knack for doing this. There is a much greater than 0 chance that this is going to end up getting nerfed between its now and its final release. The idea that you have this ship for 4 size 5s on a turret for 1 player, I have a sneaking suspicion that's going to get downgraded to 4 size 4s very quickly because that's a lot of firepower. It's still good, but if you're buying this because of the 4 size 5s, pause. Like, maybe get a cross chassis upgrade. So yeah.
It outranges a hammerhead.
Yeah.
You can kill a hammerhead without it ever getting to shoot at you.
Yeah. Which, again, I don't think it's designed like that.
Yeah.
The thing with the balancing is it's really hard to say where things will end up. So, because you're a Redeemer, if I take a look at the Redeemer right now, I think it lost its size 5s or
It
something.
went to size 4s, yeah. But
Yeah.
it's way more maneuverable. I would say it's
Yeah.
pretty much the same maneuverability
So-
as an F8.
So if I take a look at the Redeemer and compare it to what the Paladin looks like, the Redeemer, it's the attack helicopter versus flying tank.
Mhm.
The Redeemer is a ship. It's probably still not there. You're supposed to nimbly dance around your target, evade some things, do some crazy maneuvers, or like come up behind a mountain and just surprise your enemy. The Paladin is the thing. You chuck it into the front lines, and then you pray. You pray and spray. And I don't think that so. No idea if they will nerf it or something, but the Paladin, in its final iteration, will probably be something that's like, okay, we have very strong shields, we have very strong armor. They even talked about that you have some sort of bulkheads for the cockpit to so some armor panels coming down on the bulkhead. And it will have quite a lot of firepower compared to other ships of its size, because it's designed to go into the front line, take the damage, and punch back. The Redeemer, on the other hand, probably so, depending on what other gunships they add, is probably closer to the classic attack helicopter.
Mhm.
It's not designed to take a hit, and it does not have as much firepower as some other flying vehicles.
Mhm.
But it's nimble and it can escape and it can flank and so on. So you would use those gunships differently, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can see that. I still want to see some improvements to the Redeemer. I hate the Redeemer. I think it's awful. I hate its looks. I hate everything about it. Anyone who's followed me long enough to know that I have
Yep.
I personally am offended that thing still exists. Not that it was made, because the developers made it to win a contest. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. Not that CIG released it, because CIG promised they'd release it from the original design. The problem I have is that CIG didn't go into it well enough to care. It's clear that they just sort of said, we have an obligation to release this. How are we going to make this and so that people would sell it? So they basically turned it into a beat stick that beats everybody else, and then shockingly discovered that it's overpowered and overtuned. So they're like, cool, we need to bring it back in line with what we needed to do. And now it's less effective and people are getting mad at it. It's like, if CIG made it, apparently it is more maneuverable. You use it a lot, Apollo?
It was my daily driver for a long time.
Is it maneuverable enough in your opinion? Because
I would say, yeah, now it is. Somebody, James there says Redeemer's about 10% slower speed and pitch, yaw roll than the F8. It's very similar to the F8 in terms of maneuverability. It turns
Of that size, that's quite something.
it's decent. And
if you compare it to the Paladin, it's similar in size, but it has a much narrower silhouette.
So it can fit on
cross section.
So it can fit on smaller pads. Is what you're trying to say?
Yeah, it's also about it's. If you shoot at the Paladin, you will hit it.
Yeah.
If you shoot at the Redeemer, you might not.
So the thing I've heard is it's improved. You're the first person I've talked to directly who said it is really good in maneuverability, which is good, because I wanted it to be more maneuverable as a ship, because should have been more like an attack helicopter. The next thing I think they should look at it is fuel efficiency. If it is more fuel efficient, meaning it has VTOLs, turn those engines into actual VTOLs, so it becomes easier to VTOL in atmosphere. And it is fuel efficient, so it doesn't use a lot of hydrogen, and maybe not necessarily like quantum stuff, but just its hydrogen fuel being fuel efficient. I feel like it serves its role as being a maneuverable attack helicopter. Whereas I think the Paladin's main role is I'm here with guns, and you're going to have to pay attention to me, because if you don't pay attention to me, I'm going to mess everyone's day up. So pay attention to me. It's the tank. It's the tank of that sort of class, of that sort of size range, to show up.
It's like
attract all the fire, and then have other people come in at it from different angles to deal with the problems.
I'll see. So in an ideal scenario, you have two Paladins and a Valkyrie coming in. The Paladins ruin everyone's day.
Mm-hmm.
And while everyone has, okay, we have to focus on the Paladins, the Valkyrie unloads its troops, and then the Valkyrie's already, and then you have some fire support, and then you leave.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I see. And yeah, the Redeemer is probably has more staying power in terms of fuel efficiency. I mean, the Paladin, it's a brick.
It's a brick. I'm sure it'll VTOL, but I'm sure it'll VTOL like its fuel efficiency will be on that of like a 1975 Impala,
like a mole.
Yeah, something that's like desperately slurping fuel just to stay alive, or not slurping, like gulping fuel to stay aloft, in atmosphere.
And I wouldn't even be surprised if it really has rather bad in atmosphere performance. So like, okay, you can VTOL, no problem, but you're a brick, so you move like a brick, and the Redeemer, as you said, it's pretty maneuverable. The F8 is quite maneuverable, so yeah, I think those ships right now, they have each their own spot, and they work. Sure, people are sad that the Redeemer is now. It has more guns, but they are weaker overall. So no, it has more turrets, but they are weaker than the Paladin. But I think I think it works out if you take a look at what they are supposed to be. And personally, I might even go so far and say CIG should do another gunship that's even more nimble than the Redeemer with even less firepower, which is really like the.
I mean, we've got
Brutus.
the Cutlass Steel.
The Drake Brutus. Bring back the Drake Brutus.
A Drake ship. No armor. You've got a couple of really nice turrets.
Give me the.
And you're nimble like.
Thick Buccaneer. Just a thick Buccaneer. A big Buccaneer with a bunch of guns on it that is nimble and fast, but is made out of tissue paper and slapped with size ones, like 8 size ones, like perfect. Give it to me, CIG. It's also good, and it would be a good enemy AI sort of situation. Like they're cheap, so there's like 4 of them, whereas you'd have like one in an encounter versus like one Paladin, or you have the Paladin as the boss, and you have the 4 Drake gunships as the chaff, or like, oh, now I gotta pay attention to the boss, but this chaff is gonna eat me up, So.
You've got a large Buccaneer. Under each wing is a quad-sized quad-sized 2 manned turret.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. Or remote turret, where you have like 2 people in controls, and then 1 crew pilot, something like that. I can see that. I will say, I think we need to wait for some Q&A for the Paladin, because there's a lot of questions still. And as always, do not buy because of meta. It looks meta. If you're purchasing it because of meta, you're gonna get burned. It's gonna burn you. So
that's the problem with the Paladin. It looks great, and if you think a minute about what it provides in terms of gameplay, it looks even better. So CCU is already bought.
Yeah, CCU is fine. I think a CCU would be a good option for this. So if you can get a good CCU with it, it's a, I don't know what would be the closest thing to it, but getting it at the price.
The Vanguard Harbinger or Vanguard Sentinel, depending on your CCU chain.
Okay, that would perfect, and I think that would do okay. But we didn't even get a chance to go talk to CCUs. I'm sure we'll talk about CCUs in the question and answers. We'll start off there. So you have to come back and watch the question and answer if you're watching this recorded to a little bit more about the CCUs, because I think we do want to talk about the CCU and what they did and what they are, because I think that requires a little bit of separate thing. But thank you for joining us so far for this discussion. Thank you to Zark and Apollonaut. Make sure you check out my Discord to find Zark. And Apollonaut, where can they find you?
I'm on Discord. I'm on Twitch. I don't really stream very much, but I do racing. Check out barcitizen.sc. Join your local Bar Citizen community. There's going to be a big shift in the communication levels. They're going to be improving a lot for, especially in the US around Bar Citizens. That's coming this next year.
I'd forgotten you were like one of the racing holders for like a big name for racing. I remember your name. It's like, why do I know his name? Like, oh, because he races all the time.
Wait, for what?
You race, don't you? Aren't you in like
I do.
a lot of those? What is the name of that group?
XGR.
XGR. Yeah. And
I
those,
I've been I've been around, but I'm not super active in XGR.
okay. I,
I do a lot of guide sessions.
okay.
I teach people how to play the game. Done over 100 guide sessions for newbies. Um, and I'm very much excited for the new in-game guide system.
Hmm.
The Yeah, take a look at. I'm all about in-person stuff.
Yeah.
Join our citizens. Check out Equinox eqnxsc.com. They're doing a big LAN party in the middle of the year, over 100 people. Um, and then we also have one coming up in California, San Jose, January 4th. I'll be there in person. I'm going to see if Space Tomato and his wife will be there, Ms. Tomato. And yeah, it's a good time. I run Solar Armada. It's a 250-ish people org that we do weekly events.
Yeah.
Check us out.
Awesome. All right. And of course, if you join this, please join us live at twitch.tv/theastropub, youtube.com/theastropubLive at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. And that's for GMT. That's 9 p.m., I think, GMT, around that, British time. Would love to have you come join us live and join the chat. Twitch.tv/theastropub, youtube.com/theastropubLive. And make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube for the recorded videos, which is youtube.com/ at the Captain's Table Podcast. Would love to have you see there. And of course, you can also catch us on the Spotify, where we have Spotify and all other podcast formats where you can find the Captain's Table on there as well. Thank you for joining us. We're going to be taking some time to go to the question and answer session, which, if you want to know that one, it'll be above Zark's head there, that link. So you can click there and you'll be able to go there to the next one. And we'll take a few minutes to use the restroom, get something to drink, and we'll be answering questions from the chat real soon. But like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black. And we're back with a question and answer session with Zark and Apollonaut. If you missed our episode on talking about the IAE, kind of the retrospective and evaluation of IAE is what I called it. Make sure you check that out before you watch this. Zark will be right above Zark's head right there. Zark will point up. Thank you. Check that out. If you're listening to this on the podcast format, we'll just transition directly into this, so it'll be fine for that. And of course, check us out on youtube.com/at the Captain's Table Podcast if you want to see these in the future, because starting in January, I'm going to start uploading all of these episodes to that platform. It'll always be live here on the youtube.com/TheAstroPubLive and twitch.tv/TheAstroPub. But if you wanted to watch the recorded ones after the fact, it'll always be there. So it'll be able to be the truncated, hour and a half that we usually do. So let's get started with the first question, which is pulling up my questions bot. By the way, to ask a question, just bracket question and then ask your question, and the bot will pick it up in YouTube or Twitch. So the first question comes from Mark Harding, who asks, was anyone else hoping for a capital-sized gunship from Anvil, or was it just me? I know Zark says yes.
Every single year.
Yep.
It's every year, yeah. Where's my Anvil capital ship? I'll be honest, I got hopeful with the Paladin, that we see the Anvil Corvette maybe even at the IAE as a concept. Simply because, so they are now doing RSI. They finish up RSI. On this side, they finish up Drake, because Drake only has 2 ships left, the Ironclad and the Kraken. And they are working on Misk. Misk doesn't have a lot of ships left over either. It's the rest of the Hull series, and that's it, because the Endeavor is post 1.0. So then we have Anvil with quite a lot of ships in the backload. We have the Legionnaire, which is sort of done waiting for hacking. And it might be that they pushed back Anvil as a whole because of hacking gameplay. We have Crucible.
The Super Hornet Mark II.
Yeah, if it comes, but it's not announced. So just going by
It kind of was.
It's announced.
Yeah. Oh,
during the IAE
okay,
show.
then.
Yeah.
But the Super Hornet Mark II, they just throw it in whenever they have time.
Yeah.
It's not a big ship. That's my...
It's definitely one of those, do we have time between between stuff to work on it kind of thing.
So yeah, we've got the Legionnaire, we've got the Liberator, we've got now the Paladin, and then we've got the Crucible. Crucible, again, is a ship, it needs a massive rework. They learned a lesson from the Reclaimer. They wait until they're sure what exactly is repair. So the Crucible will probably grow a bit larger. It will have repair and crafting functionality, but they want to be sure how it looks.
I can almost guarantee that's a post 1.0 ship too, because we've heard nothing about the Crucible. So
it depends. It depends. It might be with the whole crafting that they say, okay, if we have crafting and we're doing Anvil and we have large Anvil ships, we might throw the Crucible in there. So there's an Anvil family, and it would make sense because with the Carrack, we already have a large ship, so there are already assets to pull from. So it would make sense to bring. So when you do all those ships, then you also do the Corvette. That would make sense from a production standpoint.
And we have the Liberator as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, Liberator, Legionnaire, Paladin, Crucible, and the whatever the Corvette is. I think they all going in one fell swoop.
Yeah. Oh, right. We also forgot the thing I was going to say we're going to talk about, the CCU. Let's finish. I'll finish the question, and then we'll answer the CCU, because someone also asked a question about what is an upgrade. So, Apollo, your thoughts on were you hoping for an Anvil capital ship?
I was kind of indifferent. I mean, honestly, I do kind of like Anvil's design language. It's military, but it's not Aegis. Yeah. I mean, I would have been interested, maybe. I know a lot of people in my org would have been. I don't know about capital size. I don't think right now is the best time to introduce a new capital ship.
Yeah.
Really. They want to make money, but getting the giant capital ships unless they're base building like the Pioneer. I think base building is the biggest hype builder that they have.
Yeah.
And so they're gonna, anything that has anything to do with making your mark on the verse is gonna sell more.
Yeah.
I know the Pioneer like sold out in seconds, at least for the store credit version.
2 minutes for the credit.
Yeah.
For credit, yeah.
Yeah. And but that's why I said with the Anvil family, because there are so many Anvil ships that have to be made, and you got a lot of assets you could pull from those.
Yeah.
Same with the Polaris and the RSI family. It would make sense to bring in the Anvil capital ship when you tackle Anvil. And I don't think Anvil is far behind. It's probably coming after RSI, Misk, and Drake.
Yeah.
Because it's it's the ship family with the largest backlog of big ships.
Yeah, I think the other thing is, and I think it's been confirmed that the Crucible's post 1.0 already. There's going to be a lot of ships that we're going to hear trickle out.
The Genesis Starliner is post.
Yeah, Genesis as well, post 1.0. I think we're going to start hearing a lot of those ships.
The thing is, I don't know why the Crucible should be post 1.0. That's the thing. There's no reason that would say, okay, bring it post 1.0.
Time.
And
because I think I'm going to say something that's very spicy. I'm going to say a very spicy take. I think whether we like it or not, CIG is going to release 1.0 sooner than we hope. Meaning, sooner than we hope is probably a better word. Sooner than we think.
I'm with you on this.
Because I think CIG is trying to shoot for 1.0 either in 2026 or 2027. And so basically, because they wouldn't have planned out 1.0 like they have without having it part of a 2-year plan. Because that's basically, from my understanding of how my layman's understanding with some research, anything in doing with technological research, technological like stuff, development, especially software development, anything past 2 years is a guess. Is a wish. It's not even a guess. Then the further you get away from your current status is the more insecure and unsure. So one of the reasons why something is always 2 years away is because they have to have that's the best outside understanding they have is 2 years.
I'm not sure if I would go so far and say 2026 for 1.0.
I don't think they'll hit 2026. We're talking about plans versus execution. But I think it's going to come out sooner than we think, and as a result, a lot of ships, and some of the minor gameplay faction stuff is just going to get dropped until post 1.0.
So, yeah. But the thing is, Paul, just based on CG's own understanding of things, disregarding Genesis, you have to play. You have to press the button now. Paul?
Oh, someone's already pressed it. All right, I can't press the button, but yes, Genesis. I'm not gonna press it, but you got it.
The thing is, they still need to finish Castra.
Yeah.
Which probably takes still another half a year, probably. It's hard to say how far they are with the landing zone. And then they have Terra. And Terra is probably at least 1.5 years away. At least. So just from their own internal schedule, how long they would need for all this landing zones and the systems coming in. I'd say they probably say, okay, 2 years and we are done with the systems. And then we can think about where the rest is. Because even the guild system and reputation system will probably take quite some time. I mean, they are insanely in depth, all those skills and the quests. So I don't think CRG shoots for 2026.
I think they do, but I also think they're really ambitious. So
my headcanon is Squadron 42 Invictus 2026.
I think that's a good release date too.
And then they Squadron 42 for Invictus, and then CitizenCon/IAE time zone is going to be 1.0 like beta or something.
Yeah, I can see them really getting to the point where they have a beta build where it's like 1.0, and then after this we're releasing 1.0, so like 4. or beta point, whatever. Like they'll release a point where they're just like, we're not adding new things. We're just going to fix the problems we have right now over the course of 6 months, and then we'll release the 1.0 sort of thing. Yeah, I think that's the answer. Is that that's a completely separate thing, but because I think we're going to start seeing, if I'm right, we're going to start seeing over the next 6 months CIG talking about more and more things and ships that just won't make 1.0. Like they'll start cementing, like, I don't think passenger transport is going to make it in 4.0 or 1.0. I don't think several aspects.
Considering they want fleet battles in 1.0, I think they might push for another Corvette.
Yeah.
Simply to offer diversity.
Yeah.
So, but I'll be honest. I'll see the.
We'll find out on Invictus. I think that's because that'll be 18 months from Invictus to 2027. So what is it? Anyway, let's get into the upgrades discussion, because it was the thing we promised we were going to talk about. CCUs. For those of you who don't know what a CCU is, it used to be called the CCU, called the Cross Chassis Upgrade. They're kind of confusing, but if you say have an Aurora package, and instead of getting an Aurora, you really want that Cutlass Black because you purchased it in game or you rented it in game, you're like, this is really good, it gives me all the upgrades that I want, I would like to get this so it doesn't get it wiped, so I can always have this in my account. You can go to the store page, go to upgrades, and you find your Aurora, and then you find the Cutlass Black, and then you say something to the effect of, upgrade, and it'll generate a upgrade package from your Aurora to the Cutlass Black, which is going to be the cost of the difference between those two ships. So the Aurora is, I think, $35 or $40 in terms of credit, and the Cutlass is $100, so it would be like a $60 thing which would populate, and you would pay $60, and now you've got a upgrade package that you can apply to your ship in your package which will turn your Aurora into a Cutlass Black in game. 110. I thought that was the package was 110. So it's 30 and 110. You get my point. I am not being. That is not specifically advised for you to get an Aurora from a Cutlass Black, and you see it's more than $60. It probably is, because depending on when you're watching this. The point being, you pay the difference between the actual value of the ship and the ship you want. So people have discovered a system that is very, very efficient for saving money.
And I have to interrupt you, Paul, because do not start playing around with CCU chains. Your wallet will cry.
Yes.
Do not use CCU chains. Don't start it. Don't do it. No. Stay with the starter pack. Don't.
This is why he didn't do the CCU bit. This is why I let X do it for me. I'm just trying to explain this. And the reason why you don't is because it's like a drug. You can get really far down the chain, and CIG will mess up one thing, will change one price, and you've just screwed up your whole chain. Because what people will do is they'll buy a starter ship or buy an LTI token, and they'll use that as the basis for applying. Each sale has a discount. So each sale for all the sales will have a discount CCU. And sometimes they'll have discount CCUs otherwise.
It's not about the sale, it's about the Warbond CCU. So
that's what I mean. But what I'm saying is each sale has a Warbond CCU specific. So each sale will have one ship that is specifically on Warbond CCU, or at least it has for the IAE.
And those Warbond CCUs have discounts, so if you only get from one Warbond CCU to the other Warbond CCU, you can save quite a lot of money.
So for instance, say that you get a Cutlass Black, that we're using that example, and you get that Warbond CCU for Cutlass Black, which is that it's on discount for
$80. Probably $20 cheaper.
Yeah, like $20 cheaper, so yeah, like $90. It's $90. This is an example. This doesn't actually exist. Okay, I don't have to put up disclaimers everywhere, but that means that instead of that, what is 30 to?
I mean, I've taught this system to people.
Yeah.
I've taught the system to people and using it's like extreme couponing.
Yes,
right? You're stacking coupon on coupon on coupon on coupon and going up in value of the ships every single step of the rung of the ladder.
Yeah.
You're saving $5 here, $10 here, $10 here, $25 here, $50 here, and then you've built a brand new merchantman for $300.
Basically,
And
because you still have to
the
pay.
issue is,
You still have to pay the difference.
Yes.
But
yeah, and the big thing is, so you always spend $5 on one War 1 CCU. You always have to pay real money for the War 1 CCU,
Yes.
different from the normal CCUs, which you can use with store credits. And in my case, I thought I want a daily driver because I only have large ships in my hangar.
Mhm.
I started my CCU chain this year with Invictus. I wanted a nice, cute little daily driver. I thought a 400i. My CCU chain now reaches up to the 600i, which is not small anymore.
yeah,
And that's the whole issue with the CCU chain, and this is why do not use CCU chains. You will pay you will just spend money.
My caveat to this is people that have already put in thousands of dollars
yeah,
and then didn't realize the CCU game existed.
yeah,
I've done. Some people go into these sales. You know, they've already put in 5-10 grand into the game, which is bonkers.
yeah.
I'm one of them. I understand. The people that have put that amount of money into the game and just bought ships outright, they're coming to these events, IAE, Invictus, with a sort of a budget in mind already. They're like, I'm already going to spend $300. I'm going to buy the new ship that comes out. I'm already planning on doing that. I've saved some money. It's like a thing I do every year. It's like, okay, it's not ridiculous. As far as hobbies go, not crazy. What you can then do is say, hey, instead of spending $300 on the one ship, spend the $300 on the little upgrades and melt the ships that you have and then rebuild them using the chaining. I've done this for a couple of people and recovered thousands in store credit for them.
Yeah.
So they can just get the new ship without spending anything. And yeah, somebody here says, don't expect a good one within one sale. I disagree. Within one event, like you're able to get 40-50% off on some of the really big ships, just from one like 2-week long event like IAE. Like I'm helping multiple people right now get Polarises, or Persei, because there's a Polaris loaner for the Perseus. People are like, I'll just get a Perseus instead. Yeah, I mean, you can get lots of money back, but if you're just like with a starter package, stay with the starter package. That's my advice. Don't go and
with the
spend
starter
hundreds of dollars
package.
unless you are already planning on it.
I mean, we talked about how Star Citizen funding dropped this year a bit, but let's face it. Get your starter package, stay with the starter package.
Yeah.
You're fine. You are
Every
fine.
org needs more people with just starter packages.
Yes.
Every single org. Because there are, even the small orgs that are like 10 people, there's going to be one whale among them that's like, I have 50 ships.
Yeah.
I'm going to provide for the org. It's like, okay, well, you got to find crew for them. And those crew got to come from the community that has nothing. Or you know.
I mean, the good thing is if you average the costs out, so the money earned with the citizens we have. I mean, right, we could do this really quick. Let's just let me just get.
Go ahead and do that. I'm gonna explain something as well. The thing that is, Luna does put it out. CCU chaining has the same psychological short-term rush as gambling addiction for those into it. It's extreme couponing. It's the same thing as extreme couponing, where like people are like, I can get so much DKs. Like you hear stories like somebody got a Polaris for like $180 because of the right chains. The thing is if you are already spending a lot of money in it, you can have some value into it. Now this year, I think one of the big problems that people have is that the current values of the CCUs are kind of disappointing. Some of them are really good, but some of them are a little bit down, because I think the biggest discount was like $30, $20 or $30.
Yeah.
So
there's a $50 BMM.
$50 BMM.
Yeah. Anti-Polaris is like 75.
So I've got a Perseus for $100 because I won a Constellation Phoenix at a trivia thing from CIG at a Bar Citizen in Santa Monica. And you can upgrade from the giveaway ships, and those have value.
Yeah.
And that's what I did.
Yeah, if you
streamers do giveaways all the time.
Yeah, I do all the time. And if you get a referral Gladius, for instance, which is $90 value, you can use that as a base, and then
Yep.
because it still has value, you can't melt it, but if you can apply an upgrade to it, which I have, which I applied an upgrade to from a Gladius to an F8 F7A, and so I got a discount of $90 off of my F7A. So
But yeah, don't start it. Don't start it.
yeah. So
Okay, the thing is, I only have the Star Citizen, so the actual accounts, not the sold game packages.
yeah,
But if you take our 755 millions we've collected and divide them by those 5.5 million citizens, every citizen has spent a total of $14. So it is higher for those people with actual game packages, obviously. But even if we only say that half have a game package, we're still only by $26. So yeah, most people are sensible enough and only got a game package with an Aurora.
yeah.
We do have the finale coming. We have BIS Day, and we have the finale. Both of which are going to have groups of sales.
Yes.
And so if you didn't know this existed and then you're wanting to maybe take a look at it, there are the two biggest pieces of this event are coming up and will be a good opportunity to save some money on some more expensive ships. ccugame.app is the website that kind of does it all for you. It has an extension that loads in your entire hangar, and then just you can manage your whole fleet that way.
Another people to go to as a member of the Inforunners is Execute will do a bunch of like CCU chains. He'll build some chains live, or will help you out. He'll do videos on it to show you what chains can work with where. And we'll also talk with people. The Inforunners does have more than just Execute. There's a lot of the admin team are also CCU experts, so they can work there. I know I'm going to sit down with Execute sometime next week and build a chain for my Ironclad assault. I have a CCU from an M2 to a assault. So, and I was like, I should probably look at a chain for this one because I saw that the M2 was on discount earlier, and I'm like, because sometimes they'll come back, that kind of thing. The ones that were available the first, they'll come back for the finale. So you have that kind of stuff. So.
Oh, I just see Siciano is correcting me. I probably did.
You probably punched in the wrong number, one more than zero somewhere, because that was close.
One on the wrong side. It's $136 per player.
Account, yeah.
Per account.
Yeah.
Still, most people are probably in the lower half of the ship sizes. So. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to also check out the CCU chain. I've used it for like the funding tracker, but nothing else. All right.
Oh man.
So let's move on, because I think I wanted to talk a little bit about that, because I think people wanted to hear about it in terms of what it was, because I know that some people don't know it exists and that what it does and that sort of thing. And I did hear that there's a little bit more disappointment this year in terms of.
Can I link my?
Go for it.
Okay, I'll just put it in the chat here. This is the thing that I wrote up as my presentation for CCU game stuff.
I mean, if you really want to do a good CCU chain, usually you spend 2 years on it. You go through 2 IAEs and 2 Invictus, and then you've got a good thing. But
yeah, I mean, if you can do it, CG will break one of your chains. They will always break one of your chains because they don't care about this sort of thing. So be careful with that sort of thing. And
sometimes you break it yourself because you say, you know what, I want to branch out and get this ship for now as a daily driver, and then I have $10 less coupon.
All right, let's move on to.
I've got a question for you.
Okay. Oh, we've got a lot of questions, so let's make it quick.
Okay. Every IAE, there's this question about what ship do you want to see? And I want to put a spin on it because we have the theme New Frontier with Pyro approaching. So, considering Pyro, what ship would you like to see, new concept or vehicle, that would fit in the New Frontier / Pyro theme?
I mean, obviously what new ship or like ship that already
New ship.
exists.
New ship. New concept.
A small or medium base builder. Something that's smaller than the BLD but bigger than the SRV or the whatever that it's called, the truck. Something that's like a flyable base builder.
The Cutlass Concrete.
Yes. The Cutlass.
The cinder block.
The Cutlass Iron. You know,
Yes.
or the Cutlass. No, it's a good civilization color.
The Cutlass is even built for this. I mean, you have the one side you
the two
just
sides.
can open.
Yeah, the two sides you can open up. You know,
Two sides probably not because of the door, but one side could open up.
doesn't mean the door is on the side. You can just open them up. They can open
Yeah,
up.
but if you put the drones on the left side, you would block the entrance to the cockpit.
That's true. So yeah, so on the right side, put a medium drone on the left, and then throw it out there. You know, or one. The Cutlass Copper. Yes, the Cutlass Copper would be actually a fantastic name for it because it would harken back to the A. Nasir joke that they made at.
Oh gosh.
Historical joke.
Oh my gosh.
For those who don't know, one of the earliest ever written records we have of human history is a complaint letter about A. Nasir and how his copper is awful and he sold them bad copper. So that's where the joke comes from. All right, moving on. Or Apollo, what about you?
For ships?
Okay, what ship would fit? What ship we haven't seen yet? Do you think would fit the theme of New Frontiers?
New Frontier.
New Frontiers. Oh gosh. Putting me on the spot here. I might have to bank that question and come back to it.
Okay.
Personally, I would like to see the Toyota Hilux.
Oh yeah,
the Toyota Tactical. And then you've got the Toyota Tactical from it.
Would you like it as a vehicle or as a ship?
Yeah, as a vehicle. Just a scrappy old.
A MISC truck.
Argo.
You want?
No,
or
it's an Argo truck. Argo pickup.
What you want is a mule with a removable back, so you can install a gun on it.
Yeah,
I've got it.
A mule is not Argo. I really want to see Argo because we built this thing for people to work, and then people were crazy enough to put like a size 3 gun on the back.
Size 4, whatever. Yeah. Apollo?
Yeah. I want a larger version of the Raft that has about 250 SCU.
Like the Raft XL?
Yeah, like the barge, Like I want something that I can live in and do cargo with. Like I have a Rylan, and that's basically what I'm looking forward to because it sits between the Taurus and the Caterpillar, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing really there right now.
There's the Starlancer.
Now there is, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also like
it's the only thing.
Yeah, I want an Argo Starlancer. Like that's
rather huge for the amount of cargo it carries.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, something like that. I mean, we've got the whole bee, right?
Mm-hmm.
As well, but
it's kind of there as well.
I want Argo. I love Argo's design language.
Yeah, we need more Argo ships.
All right, let's move on to the next question. So this is a quick one. Doc Platypus asks, question, will there be a 5.0 or is there nothing big between 4.0 and 1.0? There is no 5.0. 4.0 and then they'll go from 4.0 alpha to 1.0 release. That's
I could see them bring 5.0 with the guild system.
No, I don't think so. I think they're just going to stick with 4.0 and
probably yes, but I can see some milestones.
We got to keep going there, Zark. We got to keep going.
Yeah.
I got a lot of questions. Walter Hack asks, how do you feel about the limited stock ships missing stock ships? I missed out because the website bugged out and seemingly we already have 1,000 Polarises per server now. I don't know what the question is about the Polaris. How would I feel about the limited stock ships? I understand the limited stock ships. I know a lot of people think they're just like, oh, it's FOMO. And I think, I don't really feel like it's FOMO. I feel like CIG doesn't want to sell a billion Polaris, or a billion like Idrises.
Pioneers.
Yeah, and Pioneers.
I'll be honest. I think we're now in the 10th year of Star Citizen. No, 11th year of Star Citizen, and 10 years of IAE, I think the limited ship idea is kind of gone its way because we already have so many Idrises and Javelins in the verse simply due to how often. So, if Star Citizen would have released 2016, the limited ship sale would have made sense. Considering we are another 8 years on top, there are already so many ships. I don't think it really makes a difference.
Well, I also don't think it's a FOMO.
Some people.
I don't think it's a FOMO situation either because like everyone knows they can do it in the next year. And if CIG just sold them regularly like they would normally, I don't think they'd make any more money than they already do.
No.
But I also think that there are some cases of limited ship sales that are like specifically limited, hull limited, not like number limited, but the number like, hey, you only buy this at the sale. I think that's stupid. Like the Super Hornet shouldn't be something that is only purchasable at a sale. I don't even think it's purchasable anymore, but because they stopped selling the Mark 1s. But
Yes.
like there was I think it's one of the constellations. I think the Carrack was at one point limited or something like that too.
The Phoenix is hull limited.
The Phoenix is hull. They're hull limited though. There's a couple of ships that I have to go back and look at it where I'm like, why is this only sold at sales? Like why does this exist only for sales? That doesn't make a lot of sense. The artificial rarity, and I think that actually bites them in the ass because there's a lot of ships outside of the huge capital ships, which people would purchase when they had the money. Like I currently bought a bunch of stuff for Christmas and other things, so I don't have a ton of cash laying around for this sale. So if I wanted to buy something for the sale, I'm going to have to wait until next year. So CIG doesn't get my money. Even if I have money in December, I don't have money now. And so because of the sale's not in December, I don't get it. So CIG doesn't get it for them. I think it actually hurts them in the long run for these sorts of ideas. But that's just sort of my opinion on it. So, all right.
We got AI crew question.
Next question comes from, I'm kind of working down the lists. Thank you, X. X is going through and one-upping everything. You're one-upping everything. Good.
Me, yeah, I got it.
Good, thank you. That's how we usually do it, so we can mark that it's been answered. So, Zonti asks, do you think CIG confirming no AI crew at last launch month? Okay. My brain. Now I'm catching up because now I forget that people can actually read this now other than me. So, Zark, you can actually check it in the question bot sections on the topics table. Yeah. Do you think CIG confirming AI crew at launch last month, no AI crew at launch last month, may have affected sales of multi-crew ships? Yes. I guarantee it.
Yeah. All of the people that have multi-crew ships that are like, I didn't need people, I can fly everything solo because I'm going to rely on AI, are now like nervously, picking their teeth, like, I need to find an org.
And just be like,
I need to make an org.
Or
they just leave, or they sell their stuff.
I'll be honest, I'm glad about this because the thing is, people who understood the whole AI thing always knew you can't run your Idris just with AI. That's not feasible. So having this, 1.0 is coming, AI crew will be after 1.0, people might start stepping back, reconsidering things, and then go, okay, maybe I don't need an Idris just for me. Maybe I'll just stick with the Perseus.
Yeah, I mean, I think, as I've been saying for many years now, I'm always concerned that as Star Citizen becomes more of a game, we're going to see a lot of people realize that it's not the idea that they had in their mind. Like CIG said a lot of stuff. It's Chris Roberts. Chris Roberts says a lot of things. And Chris Roberts' vision is not going to be the same as reality, because once Chris Roberts' vision hits the limitations of what is possible, we're going to start to see compromises. We've already seen that. Chris wanted to say, nothing faked, everything up front. There's lots of stuff that's faked in the background for Star Citizen, because they have to, because it's how the game functions at the scale. And there will be constantly things like that that'll happen, where Chris wants something and they'll try to do it and then they can't get it done, so they'll pair it back to what they can get it done. And new things are added too, which like base building and ground gameplay was never really a concept. I mean, I know, I don't remember how long you've been around, Zark, but I know Apollo, you and I have been around for a very long time. So we remember when the
I
ground
remember
gameplay.
the Kickstarter phase. So
Yeah, we've us three have been around for when Chris Roberts and team were basically like, ground gameplay is a post-release feature. Like, we're gonna get it, but we don't really have an idea of what it's gonna look like and when it's gonna happen.
You get a explorable landing zone and that's it.
Yeah,
And then
and it was a
at one point they
cutscene.
say, yeah,
And it was a cutscene to land. You know.
yeah, and then at what point they go, yeah, here, people, fully explorable planets. But I must say that's the great thing about the Polaris, because now people can finally see what capital ships are in game.
Yeah.
And I think many people are waking up to the
realities. Yeah.
I'll go and fly solo with my dreams.
That's why I always said that, like, even people with AI bots trying to run things with AI, it's like, it's never going to be as easy as you think, because there's going to have to be some sort of command system where you're commanding people to do things, and that's going to be clunky if you're solo, unless you're piloting yourself. And you know, there's a lot of issues, and I think a lot of people have always overestimated what's actually going to be in the game. But anyways, let's move on to the next question, which is Odin Bacon, who asks, and I'll have Apollo and Zark answer this, because this is one I do not know if it's the case or not, but it's asked to me, so I couldn't tell you this. Who asks, I have a question. Should I upgrade the F7C Mark II to the Star Lancer Max? Is it worth it, or is it a bad trade to have to pay $62.50 in between?
It's a $75 jump, right?
So you could go cheaper if you use more CCUs in between. So if you go from the F7A to the next, cheaper chip with a Warband CCU, you could probably save another $30. The big question for every CCU is, do you want the Star Lancer Max, and do you want it now? If you want the Star Lancer Max today, pay your $60. If it's your dream ship, do it. Is it wise to spend the $60 on the Star Lancer Max? Probably not, but you are probably already in a couple of $100 if I read between the lines. If you don't like fighters, if you aren't happy with your F7C, get the Star Lancer Max. You only have to know if it's the ship you want to use.
Yeah, the problem
in the at the final, you can test it. If you haven't done so already,
you can test it out. You can rent it.
You can use it. If you find out that the Star Lancer Max is crap for you, don't do it. Maybe you find a ship that's better. If you love it, do it. It's as simple as that.
I mean, yeah, don't apply anything yet until the finale. Like, wait for the BIS sale and also the finale, and then just get the Warbond deals for those and see if there's anything in between the value of your Hornet Mark II and the Star Lancer Max. And if there are rungs of a ladder in between, you can save money on each one. That's really where it kind of ends.
The question also comes down to, like, they're completely different gameplay. Like,
yes,
an F7C Mark II, Hornet Mark II is a fighter, single solo person fighter. Getting a Star Lancer Max is like, okay, so now you're going from a fighter to a cargo hauler, multi-crew cargo hauler. It's like, if you don't want to be a fighter and you want to go to Star Lancer, I mean, we have a saying in the Inforunners, which is earn down. If you're already investing a lot of money, it makes more sense to get a larger ship in that category and then just earn down in game, rather than trying to if you're, again, if you're already investing that kind of money. But you know,
the Star Lancer is also getting nerfed on its accelerations.
Yeah, it's a freelancer.
It's like 25%.
It's a ship.
But there we are again on. Don't bother with the current state of the ship.
Yeah, because it could change.
It will change 100 times. I mean, even master modes isn't really in there yet, because they are still doing the sub modes. When quantum boosting is, there will be changes to the base STM speeds. There will be changes to the nav mode, because that will disappear. Then we have the quantum mode. Then with the quantum boost ability, we have. If you like the Star Lancer Max, do the CCU. If you want to save some bucks, wait until the finale and work something out with the Warband CCUs.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't like the Starlancer Max, don't use the CCU. If you want a stopgap because instead of the Starlancer Max you want, I don't know, the Hercules C2, but you only have $60 to spend for now and you want to go into cargo hauling, okay, go with this CCU. Again, you can use Warbonds to save some money. But yeah, there's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah, it's hard to tell with that one. Here's a good question.
Would be different if you'd ask if you should CCU to a Redeemer?
No, the answer is no. I mean, even now, non-biased Paul would I don't think anyone would say get a Redeemer right now if you want to get that gameplay. Get the Paladin, which is in that gameplay range. It's cheaper right now.
Yeah.
Even though you don't get access to it, I guarantee you the loaner for it is going to be a Redeemer anyways, because that's so Joe's got two questions. First off, has LTI lost value now? I was considering selling my LTI ship. I'm going to take this one because I think this is a complicated one to answer, and CIG has done a bad job explaining it, and they still have yet to. People need pictures, CIG. Your community needs pictures. They need pictures.
I explained the whole thing today to an orc mate.
You need like documentation. You need this is why CIG needs to actually do game design docs and publish them again, because they're very important for giving the ideas. So LTI has not lost any value. The issue is that the insurance system is more complicated now. One of the issues is that LTI has always been a base coverage. The purpose of LTI is if you have a huge amount of ships, you're going to have to pay insurance for every single one of those ships. But if you have LTI, then you automatically have coverage on a bunch of things that will never expire. So if you want to pull out a ship that has LTI, you don't have to I need to go out and get, extended coverage on this and that kind of stuff. If it's like an emergency situation, you need to pull it out right now because your org's got a raid and you need a Polaris, but you have a Polaris LTI, but you haven't pulled it out in forever. Now it's not just because it's been 8 months since the game's launched. You don't just lose coverage on that ship. Now you have that LTI. I'd argue that the 10 years insurance is effectively LTI, because it's 10 years of real life insurance, and how many games have lasted. Star Citizen's lasted as a development game 10 years, but how many games have lasted beyond 10 years? How many of you have played the same game every day for 10 years? You're in that sort of situation, or get interested in it.
How old will you be when Star Citizen releases, and then you can add another 10 years?
Yeah. Someone's saying EverQuest has lasted for over 20 years. Have you played EverQuest for 20 years straight? That's the question. Have you played it off and on for 20 years, or even like that's the thing. 10 years is a lot of, or in 10 years we'll even be using that ship. The thing that is added to more complexity to it is that with a tier 3, because LTI is tier 1. It's been confirmed as just tier 1. You get lifetime insurance on tier 1, and then you have the warranty. Every ship gets a warranty if you purchase it with cash.
Yes.
Not with cash. You purchase on the website. If you purchase a website ship, it has a warranty. LTI or not, it has a warranty. Someone once came in and said, well, the LTI warranty is worth it because it's, whatever. It's like, no, there's no such thing as an LTI warranty. Everyone has LTI warranty because everyone has a warranty on the ship. You will always get that ship back as long as you have insurance. Yeah.
LTW, lifetime warranty.
Lifetime warranty, yeah, LTW. So when you're looking at that, the tier 1 for insurance is just get your ship back and all the starting components.
No, you just get the money back.
Well, with warranty. With a warranty.
Yeah. So that's the thing that's changed. Yeah, if you have warranty or not, that's the big change.
So if you have an LTI ship, you have a warranty, and you have tier 1 forever. However, if you want to update that ship for whatever reason, if you will lose those upgrades if you don't have a higher insurance tier. So tier 2 is for upgrades, Tier 3 is for upgrades and, base upgrades and cosmetics.
Decoration.
Yeah, decorations. And I think I may be inversing its decorations for Tier 2 and equipment for Tier 3, but I think
you're right.
That's right. So
decorations is Tier 3. The ship upgrades, the aftermarket stuff that you get is Tier 2.
Tier 2. So
they need to stop using the word tier for stuff.
There's too many tiers. There's also tier for beds, and there's tier for crafting.
Changes because in injury, Tier 1 is the best. For medic beds, Tier 1 is the best.
Yeah.
And in insurance, Tier 1 is the worst.
Apparently, that's because in medical parlance, that is actually the way it works. Is like the tier 1 is the worst, rating, and Tier 3 is the most basic rating. It's something like that. So.
But could we then also apply this for like insurance? Like you have a Tier 3 insurance, and if you want everything back, you need a Tier 1 insurance.
Yeah, you could,
just for some.
It's confusing. It's the reason why people are confused by it. So the reality is that LTI hasn't changed at all in terms of its value, but because the insurance system is a little bit more complex, it's not nearly as.
Okay.
Hold on, Dark. Let me finish. I'm trying to put it in a way that kind of underpins this idea, because the problem is that with things like crafting, you're not going to be able to buy a Tier 5 level ship. Your ship is always going to be a lower tier if you purchase it with cash. We know that. And you're going to have to craft bigger ships or better ships, or improve your baseline ships with Tier 5 equipment and stuff like that. Yeah. And that's going to require Tier 2 or Tier 3 insurance to cover if you want it back. So because the insurance system is a little bit more complicated, LTI still holds the same value, but it's not going to give you as much longevity as it used to. Whereas before it was like, yeah, you were always going to get stuff back, but that was it. It was just like, oh, it's basic tier stuff, we get it back. Now it's like, since there's more complicated features, it becomes less of a, in my mind, less of a must-have. If you have LTI, don't melt it unless you don't want that ship anymore. But I also don't think you should go out of your way to look for LTI unless you have a fleet of like 1,000 ships or some insane number of ships. So,
their change to the system.
I will also say one thing before you go, because Matt's saying, literally explaining why it has less value. It's not less value. It was always the same value. It has not changed at all in its value. It just, people always thought it was more valuable than it was.
Yes.
That's the thing.
It
didn't change at all.
I think it's 8 years ago when they first talked about, okay, you can upgrade weapons. That they even showed like the different tiers of weapons. It's 8 years ago. So the whole crafting tier and everything they expanded CitizenCon, we've known this shit for 8 years at least.
Yeah, and they've gone out of their way to explain that LTI isn't very valuable. It's not what the community thinks it is. But they just gave up because they realized they could make money off of people for it. So they're just like, fuck it, let's just do it. So it was always baseline insurance.
So there's nothing that's changed. And even the explanation, the only thing that they changed with the explanation of the insurance is they said, okay, usually you only get your money back, but if you have a warranty, you also get the ship back.
Yeah.
Every ship you buy in the pledge store has warranty forever. You can. That's it. So LTI has always been the same. It's nice to have. It is for sure a reason to do some things and to get your LTI tokens, even if you don't need them. But there's no lost value.
Apollo, sorry, I was cutting you off. What were you saying?
It makes me feel less bad about having my game package be a 4-month insurance 325A.
Yeah, I mean that's fine because it also has. I guarantee you, it comes with Squad 42 too. So it's like, that's a good value. Yep. That's probably more valuable than LTI. Honestly, is having a game package with Squadron 42 in it. So,
small trick on the side: if you use a Warbone CCU, you can actually get 10-year and even LTI.
Not upgrading my 325A with the custom paint that I got back from the Origin event.
That part, yeah.
I'm keeping it.
All right, let's move on to the next question because Joe also asked up there. Does having a second or third full pledge give you an additional character? Last we heard, yes, but it has been a long time, so we don't know, and none of us what we say are going to change that. It's something that CIG has to clarify.
There are some. They recently.
They did recently talk about having multiple character slots.
yeah. So who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
We need more clarification because they did say something about like having multiple slots in your account, which is a little weird. So, Escape asks, do we expect to see the DC missions post 4.0 save Stanton lineup? Think meshing, is that what it needs? Apollo, what do you think? Do you think we're going to see those missions come back?
The distribution center mission.
Yes.
Oh, the save Stanton stuff. Maybe. I think really it was just too many things were spawning.
Yeah.
It was like a cloud of enemy ships in the sky on top of the incessant spawns of enemies in the spawn closets. I think they just had to turn down some dials. And maybe meshing would help because of the concentration of the number of things that need to be simulated, as well as the fact I think there were one or two going at the same time on a server, and the whole server was chugging trying to make it happen. A whole bunch of people were descending upon the same location and causing all kinds of mayhem. People were dropping like A2 bombs to like clear out the area. I was watching a prowler like do spirals in the sky. Like I was like, what is going on? Yeah. So maybe.
Yeah, but the phase 1 Stanton missions won't return after 4.0. They said this because it's all about the narrative thing, and as far as I can tell, it's the whole build up to Pyro. So you do the save Stanton missions, and after we're done with them, they are gone.
I do think they'll rework those missions though, because like the the basic missions of like having that assault on a distribution center, I think they can rework that with some other stories. So.
They teased distribution center raids during CitizenCon last year. So, I mean, I'm, like Overwatch style push the payload kind of thing.
Yeah. Zark, What do you think? Do you think we'll see him come back?
The archetype probably, the safe stand not.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. When is the question? Because I don't think they'll return with 4.0 simply due to server meshing.
They don't have enough testing for it too. So I think I could see it coming in with Invictus or somewhere around there to something that combined with that. So. All right, Gin Tonic asks, what was the one niggling thing that ought to be fixed that you really, really want fixed? For me, it's true persistence. I hate logging off and not logging back in there. I've come to hate waking up in the hab. Are you with that? Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. True persistence.
Go ahead.
This will be
Apollo.
the next big game changer.
Friend markers, party markers, please.
Oh, breaking.
Please.
Friend party markers breaking all the time.
Yeah, party markers have not been fixed in months.
I don't have any party markers breaking at me for at least 7 or 8 months.
I will say that you are lucky. You are very lucky. I will say the thing we talked about earlier, the unoptimizedness of the Moby Glass. Optimize that. Holy shit! I'm staring at the thing all the time. Why does my frame rate drop to 2 FPS every time I stare at that? That thing should be smooth as butter every time I open it. Like,
how many friends do you have on your friends list?
Yes, but it's not even my friends. It's like when I look at the chat, or if I look at the friends list, but also like the missions and the actual like the maps, it always lags out. So I think it needs some love to like rebalance and really, really kind of put that down there. So
I want animation's also really flashy.
I want him to fix my F7A Mark II. So last patch, I couldn't put on the paint. This patch, I can't edit the nose turret. Yeah. But I can get my paint.
Did they also break beacons? Players can't make beacons right now.
They've broken beacons. They've broken. Someone else is saying like legal salvage missions haven't worked for a year and over half a year. I know like mining has in some cases been just straight up broken. Some parts of mining.
But I'll be honest, beacons I don't really care right now because the whole support system, so beacons are useful, is still missing.
Yeah. It's a lot of small things. I know why they don't fix them, because those are optimizations. Those are things you do when you finish. That is what we'll see when right before 4.0s or not 4.0.
And they've probably broken due to server meshing again. Either way, so
yeah, there's probably a lot of issues that they need to go through, because like, why fix the party markers when you have a brand new party system you're going to introduce? Why fix the skin system when you've got a brand new skin system you're going to introduce, or whatever, this update stuff. So all right, next question comes from Steve the Dancer, who asks, with base building and crafting with drones, do you feel the Vulcan Vulcan light repair ship is coming soon? Also, did you feel Vulcan with the 12 SCU getting bigger?
The Vulcan will not grow any bigger because it's one of the more modern ships, and they don't tend to grow.
Well, the Polaris grew a little bit, and
yeah, but
not much.
the Polaris is older than the Vulcan, and
Is
usually, yeah, I believe so.
Huh.
And the Vulcan is also a rather small ship, so it's easier to plan ahead. And the thing is, the Vulcan isn't really there with drones and crafting. It's more like the whole repair and rearm stuff that needs to work. And then
like the Crucible. It comes back to the Crucible, right?
Yeah.
We have that same kind of, repair, rearm, refuel, and the Vulcan's going to do that, but smaller with drones. And it's like, I don't know, back when Astro was a thing that had drones flitting around your ship, like, I think that was what they were going to use for the Vulcan. Yeah. Effectively the same kind of little small buzzard things going around and zapping your ship with repair beams.
You have to control the drones, and you have to remote control them, and then it's the thing, how do they work? How do you detach stuff? So personally, I see the Crucible coming in before the Vulcan, actually. Because the Crucible, you don't need drones. You just have your hangar.
It has drones, though.
But you don't have...
It has a landing pad, I think is what you're trying to get to. You can land, and then the landing pad system will allow people to repair, maybe.
Yes, and the control drones to repair larger ships outside of the Crucible, you can just have them not working, and Crucible is only doing small-scale crafting and repairing, would be fine. And then you add on the drones later on. So yeah, I see the Crucible actually coming in before the Vulcan.
I disagree. I think the Vulcan's coming in before because they're working on drone gameplay. And I also think that CIG is, this is one of those things where I think Chris is like, we're going to physically be able to, like, you can see an outline of a hologram and you'll see it printing your, no. You're going to see it just magically pop into existence, and what they'll do is they'll force it so that the doors close and you can't see into it, and you'll see some lights flashing, and then it'll be fixed. You will not see them repairing your ship by hand. That is too much work and too much memory for them to deal with it. You might see it in some cutscenes or some like NPCs working on stuff, but that is they are going to fake that because it's just easier. And I think that's what's going to happen with the drones. So
they talked about it with the Pioneer, like, yeah, blast shield is lowering down to protect your eyes. That's the explanation why you can't see inside.
You don't get to see this happening.
Yeah. But yeah, I think some of it will like with the Vulcan, it'll just sort of magically repair. But we'll see. Next question comes from Gin and Tonic, who asks, do you think we will see remote turret interfaces, or do you think the remote turret interface needs a rework? To me, the full screen VR view and just popping into its really anti-immersive.
It's a camera. I mean, it's a remote turret. It needs a camera.
Yeah.
Jumping into it. It's like opening a periscope and going, boop. I get to see what's through the periscope. I don't think it needs too much.
I think we'll see. We'll see some changes. I think we'll see. We might see some more animations where it's just kind of like your head going down into the screen and then it kind of activates. Because I do think that they also want to prevent people from just flipping back and forth, and they want to have some animations. At the same time, CIG also seems to be moving away from animations being so immersive with Star Citizen and focusing that more on Squadron. As a result, so you can, because one of the problems, if you remember early days, people were complaining about how long it took for you to get into and out of your ship because it was like the animations were super long and complex, and so they were like, faster. We need faster. It seems like taking too leisurely. So,
and I mean, they probably could go in and like have the remote turret screen on your MFD, and then you control it via the MFD. But if the MFD is only like half your screen, you don't want to use the remote turret.
Yeah.
They could make it more immersive, but the good thing with Star Citizen is, like Jared said, we'll bring it close to realistic and then back to fun.
Yeah.
And
I could see at least some like sort of like animation where like you like it kind of the cut to it is a little gamey in my experience.
Yeah.
Like where you just cut to the screen and it's like, okay, I'm just in the screen now. But
don't make it like an 80s CRT, please.
yes, please.
Or maybe there's something like they make such a
like a visor you pull down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like this they could add. So yeah.
That's kind of what they do with Squadron. Like the Squadron, when you're a gunner, the gunner, you actually have this visor kind of fall down. Yeah. They could take that same animation and just have you want to use the remote turret, you need to have a remote turret gun, or a helmet or something like that. So I don't. Jin saying to or make it look like it's projected on your visor or something. There's no way they're going to do that. That is far too much work. Like holy fuck, that is. I don't know enough about it, and I'm thinking like Jin, come on, man. That's like for what for a remote turret. That seems like a lot of projection on projection sort of thing. But having like the visor pull down and then it transitioning to your to the gun screen, I think would make sense, and then transitioning out.
And just talking about the visor, we all remember those blurry writings and the shitstorm that brought with it.
Oh yeah, a
couple months back.
The blurry, HUD, yeah.
So imagine you use this blurry HUD to use the remote turret. No, just no.
Isn't that what I asked for? No, because it sounded like you were saying like you could project it to the visor, so like your screen changes entirely. So like you're it's still on your helmet as if you're in a thing. And if CIG did that, they would want the people outside of your view to be able to look at you and see that you're doing it. And so they want to see the back reflection of that back at them. And you know how this works. That's how CIG thinks. If it's just like the visor, like a specialized helmet you have to pull down and then it just becomes polarized or something like that. But because that also requires them to do it for every single helmet and every single visor. And there's a lot of different visors out there, including the different versions of them. So having it specialized would make sense. But I also think the CIG is going to keep it simple and just hit button. Now you're in a remote turret because that's just easy. So. Okay. Next question comes from Bundo, who asks, do you think the Vulcan will get variants? No.
Oh, why would it?
I could see it as a medium base builder.
Yeah, but just get a different ship. That's what the BLD is, or not BLD. That's large, but yeah.
I mean, Aegis isn't really there to make a lot of variants.
Yeah.
So probably not. It would.
I mean, we got the Vanguards.
Yeah, but they're kind of like a unique variants because they're actually supposed to be. At least originally, the idea was that they could swap out the main whole sections. So, So.
Then we got all of the Sabres, and then we got all of the Gladius and Gladius Valiant.
Let's be fair. The Valiant is just a skin with guns. That's all it is.
Sure, yeah.
With different guns.
The Vulcan really screams base builder simply because it has cargo, exchange the drones, and be done. Maybe later down if the Vulcan is built.
Or we can theory craft all day.
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting question, but I don't know if there's much we can do about it.
Yeah, I don't think it fits with Aegis's that fits Aegis's lineup. I think you're probably more likely to see something like a medium base builder from Drake. Like we said, the Drake Cutlass is perfectly built for that sort of thing. You just have one side of the hull. You just open up the doors and you just send out the 2 small drones or whatever, or 3 small drones.
Also, they have that like cart thing that they pushed out.
Yeah,
like that'll fit nicely.
Yeah. So, but I'm talking about like a medium base builder or something because right now we have the cart and then we have the truck and then we have the BLD. There's nothing between the truck and the BLD. There's no small and there's no medium. So Though I don't think they'll ever do a small because they already have the truck and the push cart, which can literally fit inside of a cutter. So why would you build a dedicated base building ship when you have the cart?
Yeah. Speaking of the build, they haven't put that for sale yet.
No, I don't think they'll sell it.
And
until...
as soon as they do that, as soon as they put the Starlancer BLD on sale, they're going to sell an insane amount of them.
I think they're waiting for base building to be in game. I think because they said it won't be available when base building's in, but I think when they put it in
the
there,
Pioneer will not be in base building.
I think they
the
also
BLD they didn't say anything about the BLD.
I remember them saying that it wouldn't be available when base building first came in, but it would be shortly after. Whereas the Pioneer,
that's what they said about the Pioneer. That was the Pioneer.
Yeah, okay. I remember correctly, but I remember incorrectly, I should say. But
John said, good news. We are starting work on a Pioneer. Bad news won't be in with base building.
They said the BLD will be available with base building. Okay, so then 100%. It's coming out when they announce base building. Whatever patch that is, that's when it'll come out. So, but you're right. If they had sold the BLD at this Invictus or this IAE, they would have printed money. It would have just been because plenty of people balked at the Pioneer price because it took a while for it to sell at the War Bond. But BLD was $600. People would have bought that. I mean, look at what they did with the Ironclad. So.
Look at the outrage that we had when the Galaxies module wasn't.
Yeah,
they were like, "Oh yeah, it's not in the plans to have a base building module for the Galaxy," and then they backtracked. Like, "Okay, maybe we'll put it on the plans." Because they showed it in that screenshot with all of the different base building things, and they're like, "Here's the Galaxy, maybe."
Yeah.
And then everybody bought a Galaxy thinking they can build bases with it. Yeah.
That's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Next question comes from Parker GPS, who asks, does the Pioneer design getting a big garage and drones for manufacturing? Should Crucible be concerned that it may lose its repair arm or other features? Almost certainly the Crucible is going to remove some of its arm. Because that was the thing, like the arm on the Pioneer was supposed to be the actual construction thing. And it seems like they've gone away from that. I think what you're going to see is either the Crucible will replace the drones, its repair will be replaced with drones, and those drones will be like Apollonaut said, the old spinny Cryastro drones, which will just like shoot repair beams and stuff like that at something to repair it. But yeah,
the thing with the Crucible is this thing will get a major reconcept because it does not even fit with the Anvil style anymore.
Oh no, it's so old. It's older than
no metric works. If they work on those things, I argue it probably doubles in price.
Easily.
It grows to probably 150 meters. It will be massive. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets a medium-sized fabrication hangar for ships. Wouldn't be surprised. Not that it happens.
I don't think it builds ships, but we'll see.
That's the thing. How do they use repair versus building versus crafting? But yeah, this thing, it will get a major glow up.
Someone else made a suggestion. Like, what is repair blocked behind Maelstrom? And I was like, yeah. Maelstrom. I think Maelstrom is a big feature for that. So, we'll have to wait for that one. All right. So Isogen asks. Let's move on.
I don't think it's Maelstrom.
What do you think it is?
So, okay, we have baseline repair already in game with the salvage and repair tool, and the big thing with repair, I believe, is more like we could already repair certain parts of the ship if we make use of a similar system like the hangars do. But there's no ship that could provide this service. So they probably want to wait for Maelstrom just in case they have to rework things. But the main issue why there's no more repair coming is there's no ship for it. We have one ship that can actually build parts of your ship and reattach them. That's the Crucible. And that thing is old. And no other ship we have right now has any repair facilities. The next one that has some, and which will probably be the first step towards repair, is the Ironclad Assault with the vehicle bay. And that's the first time we'll probably see repair.
Possibly. It says component repair, so we definitely need to see where CIG is going with it, because I think whatever crafting is going to have to tie into repair, whatever that is.
That for sure.
All right, next question comes from Isogen, who asks, I was cleaning up my ship skins and noticed that I have an old Electra skin hull from like 2010, 2015. Is this just old legacy stuff? Hold on to it or melt it for $5 credit. Do you need that $5 credit?
Hold on to it.
If the answer is you don't need that for
buy it back anyway.
Well, that's true, because it goes in your buyback.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you do, but I mean, if it's $5, because like we have no idea what it's for. It was built well before the current paint system, and the idea was it was supposed to apply to any ship. I doubt it's going to apply to any ship, but it might be. They might give you something cool for it down the line. It's also just you have an old Electra skin like thing. Like I've got an old Aurora Pirate skin. Like those things are crazy weird and stuff like that. It's like, is this neat? So
there's the shut up and take my money skin.
Yeah. Shimpasta asks, will the Crucible be Anvil's capital ship? The answer is they already have a capital ship. I believe it is the Carrack.
No, they don't. The Carrack is not a capital ship.
It has capital class, doesn't it? Capital class features?
Size
3s.
Size 3s?
It has only size 3s. The Crucible might be a capital ship for Anvil.
Yeah, I doubt it's going to be. It's big, but it's not bigger than a that would be huge, because I think it's right now. Bigger. Huh?
I mean, we have the Liberator. That's going to be the closest we'll have.
Yeah.
And Liberator is smaller than the Carrack.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like the Carrack is the Crucible is about the same.
60 meters right now. 60 meters.
It's obviously going to get bigger, but like, is it going to get double the size? Like, is it going to get over? Because like Carrack is 130 meters. Like
124.
124. So yeah, it would have to double the size to even meet Carrack, and the Carrack is already not a capital class, and I think the Polaris is the smallest. So
what is capital class? I could see the Crucible becoming a capital class based on the fact that it could get one capital size component, like a power plant or something, but it will never be this flying base like the Polaris is.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think they'll come out with their own capital ship.
But... Yeah, they get a new one. But...
Banner Merchantman asks, or Banner Merchantman, Otakon asks, Banner Merchantman in 1.0 or after?
After.
Yeah.
It hurts. It hurts so much.
There's going to be a lot of pain. I think there's going to be a lot of like, is my ship coming out? And I think of the backlog, probably half of them aren't going to come out until after 1.0.
I mean, the developers or the people doing all the art for the BMM, like they went to another project. Like went
Paul
to a different
Jones
game.
and his team left for Montreal. They currently work in not in Montreal CIG, but work for Ubisoft. So like 24 people left or something like that. 24. It was like 10 people left. So
considering that Ubisoft is suffering, they could come back and then they could finish the BMM before 1.0.
I think if they came back, if they came back, it would take years for them to get back onto that pass. So.
You want my cathedral of cargo? Come on.
Yeah. John Crew should have focused on ripping the Band-Aid off and went down the list of what's coming post 1.0. I don't think they know. I don't think they really legitimately have 100% understanding of what is or isn't coming out post 1.0 yet. So they're not going to tell you it's not coming out and then come out, because then people get mad, which is weird to think about that. But yeah, people will be mad.
I think with the Merchantman, there's also the whole part about true AI crew and AI walking onto the ship, buying stuff and all those things, which could lead into the ship also being pushed back, not just its size and the missing people, but also the functionality of the marketplace.
Yeah, that's another thing, because, Vazarius asks, do you recommend applying CCU Crucible Endeavor upgrade chains given the announcement they are post 1.0? No. As a high priest of the cult of the Endeavor, you should not be applying your CCU chains for the Endeavor until the Endeavor is out. They're not going to get rid of the CCU chains forever. They may pause you from being able to purchase them in the future, but if you have one, don't cash it in unless you absolutely 100% want to, because the other thing is that those ships may not come out 1.0. It might be maybe years after 1.0 before they're like the Endeavor. I joke, but seriously think is going to be the last ship that CIG ever builds, because it's that complicated. It requires the entire game to be done, and the entire game won't be done with 1.0 as much as CIG wants to think it is. So
I know some people that are applying chains just to get the loaners.
that's true. You can do that, but
like the Banu Merchantman has a C2, a Hull C, and a Banu Defender, which are pretty useful.
Mhm.
And I mean the loaners for the Endeavor are going to be the Starfarer and the Cutlass Red. It might change to a Terrapin Medic. I don't know. We'll see.
the Hope, you mean?
Yeah, if you have the Endeavor Hope, yeah.
Yeah.
There was a question we missed though
What's that?
from Mopar. What changes would you make to future IAE events?
Did I skip one? Oh, I did. Yeah. What changes would you make to the future IAE event in the future? On future event in the future? We need more interactive stuff on the floor. I've been on this for a while. Invictus needs to have a recruitment booth. They already do, but they need to be able to interact with the people there. Every convention I've ever been to, and Apollo, I'm sure you've been to a few conventions when you have things like the military there during recruitment, they'll have some sort of game or some sort of activity you do, and lots of groups will come in there with little activities for convention floors. We need stuff like that so people can do stuff on the floor. Like I've joked, the military should be, the Navy should be there, and they should have they should make a small room which is like an old laser tag thing, and you have the Nerf guns, and you walk around and you shoot NPCs with Nerf guns, and that kind of thing, or holograms with Nerf guns, and that sort of use some of that technology they developed for the shooting range for Squad 42 and put it into like a little room where you can practice those things.
Great.
Yeah.
Some themed missions like in New Babbage, repair stuff around the IAE hall, maybe some service tunnels where you have to crawl through and repair things.
Yeah.
Just to really show you, okay, even if you're not in the expo hall, the expo is here. You have the opportunity to work with the expo, and maybe even do 1 week after and before and after the expo some cleanup and thing missions. Yeah.
Bopar, I would die laughing if they added a section that was just a ball pit. I would die laughing at that reference. Oh, please, just a sad ball pit with a like an inflatable pool with balls in it. Please, Sergi, that would be funny.
And then we built the Constellation ball pit.
All right. Let's go move on to the next one. Chris King asks, would you be happy or sad if the contested zone reward ship turned out to be the Jalopy? I think it's going to be random. I think it's going to be whatever they want it to be. And I think they can randomize it, which would be nice. What do you think? What do you think the contested zone ship is going to be? For those of you who don't know, the reward at the end of the contested zone is theorized to be a ship. Because in Evocati right now, in PTU right now, it's it is placeholder, I think, an Adventure Titan. So you get a free Titan, and it gets added to your ship list. So it's like when you win, you get there, you get into it, it gets added to your available pool list. So
in game and not on your account.
In game, not on your account. Yeah, it's like as if you purchased a ship. So
right. I mean, yeah, that's cool.
Tinfoil
They can set it to whatever they want. Give it a special skin of you get the pirate faction skin for whatever station.
Mm-hmm.
You finished your contested zone. Like, cool, yeah.
Okay, tinfoil hat. We remember the strange silhouette that looks like a cut off Corsair.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a drake ship. It's a one-off manufacturer ship. It's a pyro ship.
Okay, like the ship jackers and squadron.
Yeah. So, and each contested zone each system would have contested zones, and the most difficult contested zones give you one criminal made ship.
I forgot what they're called in MechWarrior. There's a term for those. there's
Frankenstein.
they're called. There's a different name for them. There's like a special Frankenstein pirate mech that's like a Frankenmechs. There's a specific one that I know there are a lot of people. I remember fighting it in MechWarrior 5 clans. Being, what the heck is this? But yeah. All right. I'm gonna mark that as complete. For the next one, because that's definitely not one. We only have 2 more questions. Phantom 0596 asks, has there been any development in the scanning gameplay, and what are you expecting of it? There is, but it is only in the monthly reports, and we have not heard them talk about it. I do expect it to be a big focus of CIG's ISCs and other things in the next year, if not before the end of the year, because the Corsair, thank you, the Corsair Frankenmech. It obviously can't use a Corsair because the name. Well, CIG is bad at naming. Why not call it a Corsair? But the thing is they have talked extensively about it in the monthly reports. They've been working on it since July, and that means I think it was probably on track to be released in Q1 of next year. Because typically it's 6 to 9 months for something like that when they start working on something before it coming out. But they also usually talk about it if they're coming closer, and they haven't said anything outside of monthly reports about it. And knowing Nyx's main theme is darkness, because it's right next to this nebula, this dark nebula, which supposedly messes up scanners. I expect that just like the environmental hazards and engineering was the big theme of Pyro, I expect Nyx's thing to be scanning and stealth. And because scanning and stealth are already in development, and the one thing they talked about was delta signatures and how those things are registered. We don't know a lot of details about it yet, though. So, yeah. Anything else y'all want to add about that?
No.
Okay. I mean, I don't know if this person has played in the last few patches, but scanning has changed a lot since it was last a thing. You kind of have to scan ships now to get name tags and what's inside the ship, and it also allows your gunners to target things like turrets and stuff. All the sub-targeting. Yeah. It's a new MFD, or there's a whole bunch of stuff in the MFD you can cycle through. On some ships it's default, and some ships you have to cycle into the scanning menu.
Yeah.
I think a lot of ships can now scan rocks and see the materials. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
They're still working on it, and it's going to get an overhaul even more when it comes to, because things like the Scout and the Terrapin and the Tracker all have their values defined by that. So.
And then we have
MSR, right?
Scanning on top of this.
All right. The last question. 6M.
Game over.
Oh, no, it's game over. Right? Yeah, it's game over. Game over asks question: when do you think we'll get some news on the BMM?
When Jared decides to ask it for IAE show.
Yes. Come back in a year. We'll probably not have updates then, but they'll at least tell us what's going on with it at some point. Maybe the Alien Week. Within the next 6 to 12 months, we will have at least one sentence. It's being worked on, or it's being developed. One of the two.
Or it's
Rylan win.
Yeah. So that's the next time you'll hear. The question was specifically, when will we get some news on it? And that's the answer. If your question is actually, when will it come out? After 1.0. Whenever that is. So. All right. I do have to ask what the cat's name is.
Alice.
You have an orange one. So does she also only have one brain cell to share amongst the other orange cats?
He occasionally rents the brain cell.
Yeah. So, and thank you for sharing the cat, who's obviously very much pay attention to me.
Yes.
Servant. I require attention. Thank you for joining us there, Apollonaut. Make sure you check out Soul Armada and his Twitch channel. And if you need questions, Apollo does a lot of walkthroughs and other things like that. And if you want to talk with Zark and hang out with Zark and myself, you can always join the League of Relic Enthusiasts, which is my organization, where we search out for artifacts in the verse. and bring them back for categorization and to be displayed in a museum, which we will build eventually, for which you are all invited to go to. It'll be completely full of worthless artifacts because none of you actually will. None of them will actually have any value, but you'll be able to see a bunch of history of the verse. So, and if you enjoyed this, please do hit that follow button on Twitch, subscribe button on YouTube, and make sure you hit that like button, because it really does promote the video more often, because otherwise YouTube doesn't know if someone enjoys it, even if you did enjoy it. Comment down below your own questions or comments on anything we do. I do try to read every comment, even the negative ones. So please do try to keep it civil. Name calling doesn't really help, really. If you're mad about something, find another channel. I don't know. Like, there's so many people who come. I've had a couple people come on and be like, "You guys just shills. I'm done with this shit." It's like, okay, why are you here in the first place? But please do.
Hate is more engaging.
It said, please comment down below why you hate me. And like the video. That's what I'll say. If you did enjoy this a lot, please do join us live at twitch.tv/theastropub, youtube.com/theastropubLive, which goes live on Saturdays at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, I think 9 p.m. GMT. We'd love to have you come in and join us. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.